Hello,
I'm alive.
hello. We're alive.
Hooray.
We're with you. Hello, everybody in the chat rooms.
Hi, everyone.
Looks like so far, everybody that I can see is in the YouTube chat room. Excellent.
Ah.
That's the way I prefer it. It's much easier to kind of keep track of everything that way, I believe. Hello.
Let me change to Dubai and see if I flash on Dubai.
Carl, Columbus, Mississippi. Gail, Lucas, hello. Mike Kuipers, Mayor of SQPN, hello, sir. We have Arnie. Let's see. Where's Arnie? I see Liz has. Hi, Arnie. Who's Arnie? There's Alan. Loveday. Masha. And, is Arnie iHaul Boxes? Oh, Carl. Oh, okay, thank you. That's Arnie. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's not the clearest name, Arnie.
No, it's befuddling for
yes,
for
it
us.
is for us.
But I think so it would almost make sense if your name was Carl.
Yes, or Miss
or Frank, you're going to be alone over there in Facebook. Oh, nope, David's there with you. Hey, David Ogden. And are you in Houston, David? I know that's where you live, but just wondering if I'm sure you probably are with the whole lockdown thing, right? Not out and about yet. Okay, boomers. Yeah, Masha. That's really funny. Not here.
Oh, that's a good.
This is for Masha.
Oh, really? Or Masha.
She's calling us boomers.
Got a boom.
Okay, boomers.
Oh,
all right. So that makes more sense, Arnie. Or Arn. Arnie Carl on Twitter. Okay. Hello, Emilio Geertz. Are you related to Masha?
It's the same last
name. Wait a minute. What's going on here? Is there something you want to tell us, Masha? Hi, guys from sunny Mississippi. Frank Ford's in Mississippi. MISSISSIPPI. You're sonic boomers. Yes.
This beard is getting a bit out of control. It's going to fill the screen before I finished,
Well, I think they make things that you can actually use to trim your beard.
Yeah, but it's kind of in keeping with the hair.
Oh, I see. You got to keep it balanced.
The beard's long. Yeah, gotcha. I look a bit silly, I think, with the well-trimmed beard and
I think it looks good. Hair. But, you should just keep it going, and then you'll have a side job for Christmas time. Right?
Got a long way to Christmas.
Yeah, it's going to be a great beard by then.
Yeah.
We have an announcement today. I think they may be telling us the return to working in an office
place.
Pla.
An office pla.
Ah, the old office pla. Reminds me of, the old monkey ploy.
Stephanie Plummer says, have a good show. Oh, it's Dana saying have a good show.
Dana's taking the show off today. He's a show off. He's a show off.
Hey, how much have you had to drink, sir?
Me?
Yeah.
Not enough. I'm just drinking water and coffee. That's all I'm drinking right now.
Oh, wow.
All right. So what we're going to do here, Steph's going to be joining us a little bit later. She's still at work, about to leave. And Dana is taking an authorized absence. One of his sick days, I think, or something, personal What do they call that? Personal leave? Anyway.
I call it skiving, but
skiving?
Skiving, yes.
Okay. What does
you
that
don't
mean?
use that word?
No.
Oh, if you're skiving, it means you're skiving. It means
you're skiving. Oh, thank you. That makes a lot of sense. It
means you're being lazy and you're not actually pitching up to work.
Ah, okay. And you'll also note that Miami Rick, is not with us right now because he is.
He's got a major leak in his equipment.
Yeah, kind of a personal thing.
Yeah.
He's had to run up to the store to get some adult diapers.
Yep. He's got a major leak in his plumbing.
His kitchen plumbing, actual kitchen plumbing, or did he say it was a kitchen? No, it was in the garage or something.
Yeah.
Some kind of a major leak at the homestead in Arizona. So he will try to join us at some point. It depends on how quickly he is able to fix his minor emergency at home. So hopefully we'll get to see him as well. And I suppose we could just go ahead and start the show. What do you think?
Yeah,
let's start the recorder.
Nothing much. Oh, do you want me to? Yeah, I could record this.
Okay. Oh yeah, he's in the Valley of the Water. Valley of the Water, not the Sun. Okay, I need to put that in. Would you type that into the intro for me, Liz? Thanks.
I'm recording.
Okay, and I am recording as well. Okay, and we're getting signal from you on that track and on my track. And let's see. Toga! Toga! That's what you do right before you go around.
That's very true. We like toga.
Yes. And I think I need to start up another program here. Let's see.
And please keep your hands on the throttles and make sure they open.
Yeah. And like pull back on the stick or the yoke. Push the throttles or thrust levers or whatever you want to call them up. Make sure the engines are actually producing thrust. Make sure the noise is pointed above the horizon.
And getting louder. The
noise would be nice.
Hi, Lawrence from LA, Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
I used to lawn bowl there. Very nice club at Pasadena.
Really?
Lawn Bowling Club. So,
what?
Yeah.
Were you living out there, or was it just on a layover?
On layovers, yeah.
Ah.
I was there so often. I left a whole set of bowls and shoes and gear there, and then I used to just pop along, and I was there for 48 hours, get a few games in. Nice bunch of locals.
All right. And just a message to the control room. And get back here to... Oh.
Ding, 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 ding,
right.
ding, 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 ding.
3, 2, 1.
Wow, that sounded perfect here in England.
It sounded normal here.
Which really means cockeyed. Yes, okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Oh, that's Lawrence in Los Angeles is Chad. Remember in Miami, what turned out to be your last trip?
Yeah.
When we were down there, he was he showed up in our mobile recording studio.
Oh yes, of course. Oh, brilliant. Hi.
And hope everything is going well for you out there.
And Daniel's down in Long Beach.
Long Beach, that was where I was born.
Right.
At St. Mary's Hospital.
Whenever the Rose Bowl was on, we used to get shifted to a hotel in Long Beach on the marina.
Oh, that's nice.
Down there. It was fine for the odd visit.
Okay.
We preferred Pasadena though. It was really nice up there.
Yeah, probably a little bit nicer. Although there are areas of Long Beach that are very nice too.
Oh, they never send us to those.
No. So let's see, what's he saying? Daniel Kenber, Gray, but the old Marine layer, they like to call it, out there in Long Beach. Daniel probably knows this, but I was born in Long Beach, lived in Lakewood for a couple of years, and then we moved to Rossmore in Los Alamitos until I was 13. And then they said, run away, get out of here. We went to Mobile, Alabama with the banjo on my knee. Okay. I think we're ready to go. So let me get the intro page here so we can hear the dulcet tones of Radio Roger. And by the way, Radio Roger sent a picture and in the file that he sent for the intro, and it shows him with a pole, must be at least 6 feet, 7 feet long, with a microphone on the end of it, and he's like on the street interviewing somebody. So he's literally doing social distancing while he's reporting on the street.
How did he know he was a Pole?
He was a Pole, yeah.
He could have been a Czechoslovakian.
Is it going to be like that? Is that the kind of show it's going to be? Okay. Here we go. Let me just double check one more time, make sure we are still recording over here on this device. We are. Okay, here we go. Radio Roger, it's now your turn.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG, it's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 430.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy show, the view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 17th of June, 2020.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Get you right and it's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, the families of victims and survivors filed suit over last year's crash of a vintage B-17. There was a Boeing 767 engine fire on the tarmac in Fort Lauderdale. More news, your feedback, and in today's Plane Tales, a well-dressed evening. It all settled in, tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions, electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger. Flight 430 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger Stern, Emmy Award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Wins, New York City. Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, GA for the last 31 and a half years. And I am joined today by my awesome co-host for the time being. And here he is. He is from his home studio in the English countryside. Professional photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired captain for an international airline based in London. It's Captain Nick.
I should do my best to be awesome.
Awesome. It's so awesome to see you.
It's been a long time since it was just thee and me.
So I need to know who changed Airline Pilot Guy to Airline Pilot Gal show. Was that you, Liz?
You know,
You
we used to
almost got
do
me.
this all the time.
I know.
And we very rarely caught you out.
I saw that and I went, oh, that's cute. All right. So it's just Nick and I at this moment. We'll have other co-hosts joining us at various points during the show today. So, Nick, are you ready to talk some news?
Well, I'll do my best.
All right, here we go.
Stand by for news.
Got to find my Evernote. Here we go. Let's start off with item A in the news notebook. Families and survivors sue the Collings Foundation over the B-17 bomber crash. And this is from Fox61.com. The plane carrying 13 people crashed and burned after experiencing mechanical trouble on takeoff on October 2nd from Bradley International Airport. And that was October of last year. And new developments here. Survivors and the families of the people killed in the plane crash filed a lawsuit against the vintage plane's owner, the Collings Foundation. We were meant to be together, apparently not forever, Deborah Riddell said of her husband, Rob, who was killed in the crash. Deborah Riddell was just one of the many loved ones watching a historic B-17 bomber with her husband on board crash at Bradley International. The plane carrying 13 people crashed and burned after experiencing mechanical trouble on takeoff. Pilot Ernest McCauley, 75, of Long Beach, California, had flown for over 20 years with the educational group that owned the World War II era plane and was also its safety officer. 5 passengers were killed along with McCauley and the co-pilot Michael Foster, 71, of Jacksonville, Florida. Passengers Gary Mazzoni, Robert Riddell, East Granby, James Roberts, and David Broderick, and Robert Rubner of Connecticut. NTSB member Jennifer Homendy said at a news conference shortly after the crash, they will look into witness reports that work was being done on 1 or 2 of the engines prior to takeoff. The plane had been last through a major inspection in January of 2019. So, another sad development there. They already basically suspended all of the permits that this company had, or this foundation had, to give rides to passengers in historic aircraft. And now it just gets worse. They're getting sued by family members. I mean, I don't blame them, but that's...
No, it was kind of inevitable once the FAA revoked their permission because obviously they had concerns.
Right.
And, once that happens and you officially find out that they had some failings, then, it's going to happen. It probably would have happened anyway, quite honestly. You think?
Yep.
Yeah.
I believe it was inevitable.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not entirely familiar. Do you reckon an organization like this would have had insurance to cover the cost?
I certainly hope so, but I don't know if they had
indemnity insurance or whatever it would be called.
I would think that would be a smart thing to have, especially if you're, there's always the possibility of having an incident, and if you're going to be taking passengers up, I would imagine that would be a smart.
Yeah, but I wonder if they discover there was any negligence involved. I wonder then whether
invalidates it.
Yeah, whether they're then going to be dipping into the estate of the dead pilot. It's when it gets so damn sad. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out. I know we have a bunch of listeners up in that area of the country, and I'm sure that if something does come up, they'll turn our attention toward it.
Sure.
Item B. Okay, so we had this Atlas Air Flight 3591, a cargo plane, crashed on its way from South Florida to Houston. I think it was from Miami, or I'm not sure exactly where it took off, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It crashed just outside of Houston. It was heading to Houston Intercontinental, and this was back in February of last year, and it was Atlas Air Flight 3591, and Trinity Bay was where it crashed. They just announced a few days ago that the NTSB actually announced, this is from the Aviation Herald, by the way, Simon Haradsky's wonderful site, that the NTSB is scheduled to hold a board meeting on the 14th of July, so the 14th, just under a month from now, at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time to determine the probable cause of the February 23rd, 2019 Atlas Air Flight 3591 crash. And so it's one of those things where we'll all be able to, I guess, tune in to the, it's going to be live streamed, and we'll have the information about how you can watch it if you like. I'll have that in the show notes, but you'll remember that the 767 had captain, first officer, and there was another pilot on the jump seat who was actually traveling to Houston to start indoctrination for his new pilot training class at United Airlines, and all three were killed in this tragic accident. And yeah, so I'm kind of interested to hear what they figure is the probable cause.
They're presumably doing this because of COVID. They can't convene together. Is that right, Jim?
I believe so.
Would this be one of the first times the public have been able to access a live stream?
I don't think so. I think that they had a similar type of thing, but all the members of the board were present, but they did live stream the board meeting of the talking about the almost crash of the Air Canada at San Francisco that went around and almost crashed into all those airplanes because of the closed runway. So I don't know. I'm sure they probably have done it even before that, but that's the last one that I remember seeing. So I don't think this is the first time that they've live streamed these things. So,
well, this is going to be interesting because there's an awful lot to come out that we don't understand about this particular crash.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of head scratching.
Yep.
All right. So, yeah, one of those people we know that we were talking about the previous news item of the Collins Foundation, and I said that we have a lot of listeners up in the northeastern United States, and one of those folks is in our chat room, and his name, everybody recognizes this name, Main Man Micah. And he says the Collins Foundation has been around for many, many years. They not only run the air show, but they have a museum on site in Massachusetts. I'm sure they have all the insurance coverage they need. So, yeah, but we're hoping so. Oops. Okay. And let's then move on to, so we're not really going to talk much about that Atlas Air crash, because the whole point of it being in our news notebook was to just alert everybody that they are going to be live streaming this, and I'm sure we'll have a lot to say about it after they do the 14th of July meeting. Incident, this is item C, Viet Jet A321 at Ho Chi Minh City on the 14th of June, which was just about 3 days ago. Runway excursion on landing. Again, this is from the Aviation Herald, avherald.com, by Simon, Simon Radke. A Viet Jet Airbus A321-200 registration Victor November Alpha 657 performing flight 322 from Phu Quoc to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, landed on Ho Chi Minh City's runway 25 left at 12:22 local time, but veered right off the runway and came to a stop with all gear on soft ground. There were no injuries. The aircraft received minor damage. The passengers disembarked via mobile stairs. The aircraft's wheels sank partly into the soft ground and needed to be dug out before the aircraft could be towed to the apron. The airport needed to be closed for about 2 hours. Runway 25 right is currently closed due to works in progress. Of course, this is shortly after the accident. I'm sure everything is just fine now. The airline confirmed the occurrence, reporting heavy rain caused the aircraft to skid off the runway. And so if we look at the METARs the first one about 40 minutes before this was, let's see, 5:22, actually about 22 minutes before. They had a light thunder shower in the area with scattered clouds, and winds were 240.15, gusting 2.8, mostly down the runway. And it says remark CB over the runway. And then cumulonimbus. And then just about 8 minutes after the runway excursion, we have winds 310 gusting to 26, and the winds are varying anywhere from 230 degrees to 340 degrees with a plus SHRA, a plus heavy thunderstorm. and heavy rain on the runway. And I'm guessing, I have not looked at the 10-9 page, the airport diagram, to see what kind of surface the runway has, but I think a lot of runways, especially that part of the world, do not have grooving to help with, to prevent water planing or hydroplaning. And I'm not sure if they have a porous friction overlay or any kind of a surface that helps with that sort of thing. So if you have a lot of water being dumped on a runway, I can easily see how they could have gotten into a hydroplaning kind of situation.
Yeah, even with those assistances to help with runway friction and to help drain the water, aquaplaning is very likely after a heavy thunderstorm, and water can build up extremely quickly, and unless the runway is well constructed with a good runoff and the area around that doesn't pool and allow puddles to come on. There are lots of things that can happen that will spoil your day. But they seem to have come off, and I don't know which direction. Do you reckon they're pointing still in the direction they landed? Because there's some distance from the runway, aren't they, Jeff?
Actually, I think that that looks like the direction they were landing in. I can't really make out the orientation here.
I'm trying to work out whether the piece of tarmac that's parallel to the aircraft but a bit further away is the runway, or whether the large diagonal piece is the runway.
I think that they were attempting to land on 25 left, which would be the runway in the lower part of the center of that image.
Yeah.
The 25 right would be the one above it. So it doesn't look like they went that far off the runway, and they went off to the right, it appears, in this photo here. And then that photo right above it looks like it wasn't too far off the prepared surface by the time the mud just kind of slowed the airplane to a stop. So
we once you're aquaplaning, it's kind of like being on ice. Until you can get grip back onto the tires again, it's very hard to keep directional control. And if you've got a squirrely wind, the wind wasn't too bad, but if it at 300 gusting 26, that's more or less all of it across. If it could have swung around onto the runway heading, of course, we don't know exactly what the tower wind was, but it is a problem, and it's something to be very aware of. When you're landing in very heavy rain, the runway can change the nature of the surface very quickly as water pools on it.
Yep. Yeah, it does appear that if they were indeed aquaplaning or hydroplaning, or whatever you want to call it, that with the wind 50 degrees off the runway heading to the right, that would be the natural way for the nose to orient itself. And you're just
I'm looking at the tires. They're pretty wrecked, but I was looking to see if I could see any indication of boiling of the classic. You get a hot, smooth patch when you aquaplane and the tire stops moving. Then you can quickly wear a flat patch. I can't see anything. The tire, what I can see of the tire surface,
it's pretty messed up.
It is pretty messed up. Apart from the fact that they're all wrecked because they went into the grass, I can't see any signs. But that doesn't mean that didn't occur.
Maybe that flat spot is like that's the part that's in buried in the mud.
Could well be, because if the guys had the brakes just his feet to the floor trying to stop, they probably did stay down there. Oh, I see. I've got a better picture of the final position. Right. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't scroll down far enough. I see where they came off now.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So they didn't go far off.
No, but, looks like they almost were able to keep it on the runway.
Yeah. Just enough to spoil their day.
Yeah, exactly. More paperwork.
And glad the passengers were all safe, and at least they managed to dig it out and tow it away. So often that's the biggest problem, getting the aircraft back on its wheels again.
Yep, and doesn't look like there was much damage at all. So, not quite a happy ending, but it could have been a lot worse.
Well, if you're getting... No, I better not go there.
Okay. What? What's that? Oh, no.
Oh no, you got the Hoover out again.
Yeah. Well, need to clean up around here. All right, that's enough of that. Guess what we're going to talk about? Yeah. Remember back, what was that? Well, last year? No, that was 2018, December of
Yeah,
2018. Wow, I can't believe
yeah.
it's been that long.
Quite a while ago.
Wow. Okay. Have they had another incident since then? I guess not. It was at Gatwick, outside of London, and the local police, the Sussex police, arrested a couple, and apparently they had nothing to do at all with the drone operation near the airport. And let's see, a couple arrested over the Gatwick Airport drone chaos that halted flights received £200,000 in compensation. Actually, though, if you really look into it, the couple themselves were paid £55,000, and the £145,000 went to the lawyers, or the legal team. Isn't that the way it always is?
Yes, I know.
Son of a gun. Hey, if you're out there, you're a lawyer, we love you and all, but yeah, necessary, I guess.
Well, I don't think they exactly beat them up, but they incarcerated them overnight, and they split them up. And I think perhaps the police were under a lot of pressure because closing that airport had hit all the headlines, hit all the TV stations, not just in the UK, but around the world. So the Sussex police were under enormous pressure to try and find whoever was flying these drones over the airfield and effectively closing it. Lots of diversions. It was a nightmare. They obviously jumped to a conclusion they shouldn't have. With this chap who was he used to fly model aircraft. He was a model aircraft enthusiast. So.
Well, obviously he's guilty then.
Oh dear. Well,
can you imagine though, you're in your home and 12 armed officers swooped into your home and arrest you, and they don't even own a drone?
No, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah,
well, they issued a statement that said that their legal team issued a statement. We were delighted to have finally received vindication. It's been a very long fight for justice, and I believe there was also a public apology by the Sussex police in detaining them inappropriately. So
yeah, apparently that 96 people of interest were identified and researched and ruled out. Obviously, these two slipped through the cracks. The investigation and the cost of the operation was about £790,000.
wow.
And they never actually found out who was responsible. So,
in fact, I think they said that they think that some of the sightings were actually the drones operated by the police.
yes, I know. Still an awful lot of confusion. But suffice to say, it was the catalyst that, generated some decent anti-drone equipment to be positioned both at Gatwick and Heathrow. And I think we saw the effects of the Heathrow equipment, only 6 months or so ago when a team of anti-aviation group decided they were going to try and fly drones and shut Heathrow. And they couldn't even get these things airborne. They videoing themselves trying to launch these drones, and they wouldn't even take off. So whatever they've got in place seems to be working. So,
wonder how much money they spent on all that stuff.
Well, I'm suggesting that it's probably cheaper.
Maybe, yeah.
Cheaper in the long term than all these police investigations. But,
probably right. And fewer people falsely incarcerated.
Yeah, they were estimating some enormous sums for all the disruption, all the diversions, passengers being mispositioned, flights cancelled, etc. So I think it will be worth it in the long run.
All right. Oh, I need to adjust my green screen. There's like a little flashing going on up there, isn't there?
Oh, just a tiny bit, yeah.
Yeah. Let me take a brief time out to see if I can fix that. It's definitely not a halo over my head, that's for sure.
I can only just see it at the top of the screen there.
Yeah, well, maybe it's...
Oh, gone now.
Is it?
Oh, back again.
How about now?
Good.
All right. Very good. Okay. Let's move on then. Item E. Again, from the Aviation Herald, our favorite aviation news accident incident source. So we talked about this when it happened, and it was back in 2015, well, not quite 5 years ago, about almost though. October 29th, 2015, Dynamic Airways Boeing 767-200 registration November 251 Mike Yankee performing flight 405 from Fort Lauderdale to Caracas, Venezuela. 79 passengers and 11 crew was taxiing for departure, holding short of Fort Lauderdale's runway 28 right. After contacting tower, when the crew of another aircraft, which was Silver Airways, Flight 119, advised there was a massive fuel leak from the left-hand engine, which was a JT9D. The 767 crew acknowledged and requested to return to the ramp. When the other crew alerted the engine was now on fire. 767 was evacuated via slides. Emergency services responded, put the fire out using foam, reporting that the fire was out 7 minutes after the other crew had alerted of the engine fire. One occupant received serious injuries, 21 minor injuries as a result of the evacuation, and the 767 received substantial damage, and apparently it was just too much damage to actually fix the airplane, so it was totaled. So the reason why we're talking about it is that it took a while for them to release the final report. As I said, almost 5 years. They released the final report on the 10th of June, citing that the probable cause of the accident was the separation of the flexible fuel line coupling and subsequent fuel leak due to the failure of maintenance personnel to install the required safety lock wire. Oops. Contributing to the severity of the accident was the initiation of the evacuation before the right-hand engine was shut down, which led to the passenger's injury. Now, they kind of go in a little sequence of events here, and I kind of highlighted some of the things I thought were, highlightable. About 20 minutes prior to pushback, during the pre-flight preparation, so 20 minutes prior to pushback, the crew noted an anomaly with a fuel quantity indication and fuel tank configuration set by mechanics. But that's all it says. And then the airplane pushed back.
Yeah, but they didn't query the mechanic.
I don't know. I don't suppose they did, because it was just 20 minutes and it doesn't say that they delayed at all and they pushed back.
Interesting.
Yeah. So and then it talks about again when they were out there holding short of the runway, which is a pretty short taxiing. It's not very far from Acme operations at Fort Lauderdale. Let me put it this way. And Silver Air operates, well, they used to, I don't know, it's been a while since I've operated out of Fort Lauderdale, but we used to operate right next to the terminal where Silver operates. And they were flying at that time Saab 340s, I believe. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. And so they were saying, hey, the airplane ahead of us is 767. There's like a lot of fuel leaking from the wing. And then I think they said something. The crew of the 767 said, okay, well, we need to return to the gate.
Now, that's an interesting transmission, Jeff, because I was just thinking, what would I do in this circumstance if I had been told I had a big fuel leak from an engine? Would I taxi it all the way back to the gate while I'm spewing fuel?
I think the first thing that would come to our minds, Nick, are like, we need to shut that number one engine down.
Yeah.
If there's a massive fuel leak.
Exactly. I mean, even if you then subsequently go, oh, okay, it stopped. Well, I've still got the other engine going. Shall I consider taxiing back? But for me, it's parking brake on. Let's deal with the emergency. I don't think I'd be going, oh, I'll just taxi back to the gate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't know. That does sound odd to me as well. So according to the flight attendants, passengers witnessed the fire on the left engine. Many moved from the left side to the right side of the cabin while the airplane was still taxiing. Passengers were requesting the crew to open the doors and evacuate. Like, hey, the engine's on fire. Could you open the doors, please? We need to get out. The flight attendants opened the forward left, one left, forward right, one right, and aft right to our cabin doors. The side rafts deployed. although the flight attendant at 2R, the one on the right side in the back, noted that the slide did not appear to inflate quickly or symmetrically, likely because the number 2 engine was still running at the time on the right side. By the way, did you? I included this video. I believe it was the first image that you see there. If you click on it, it should bring you to the a video of the evacuation, and you can see all this happening. So I'll make sure that I'll have that in the show notes. But let me know if you are.
I can certainly see all the deformed slides. I can't actually see the video.
Oh, it's not working the way that I had planned. Maybe it's a little bit further down. What happened? Well, if you click on that Facebook link.
Okay, I got you.
I thought I had set it up so you can just click on the photo and it would take you right to the video on Facebook. But so you can probably hear in the background the noise of the evacuation, or actually airport noise. So here, let me turn that down. It's kind of irritating to hear all that noise in my ear. But the video clearly shows flames and very, very dark black smoke coming from the left side of the aircraft. You can see the doors opening up, the evacuation slides popping out, and because the right engine was still running, the slide in the back was being, skewed aft and not deploying properly. And then one of the first passengers that made it down the slide basically gets caught up in the jet stream of from the engine and gets blown and tumbles along the ramp. And I think that's where the person received the severe injuries.
All I can say is it's a good job that the overwing exit slides didn't function.
Exactly.
Because you can imagine if people started going out of the overwing exit with a running engine there.
Right. That's why I thought the same thing. In the report here, it talks about the fact that they did try to use the overwing exits on the right side, and the slide didn't pop out. And as Nick just said, that's a good thing because the engine was still running.
Yeah.
So after the evacuation had already begun, the flight crew advised over the PA to evacuate out the right side of the airplane. The number 2 engine, the right engine, was still running, and about 11 seconds after the airplane came to a stop, one of the passengers who evacuated through to right passed behind the engine, where the exhaust caused him to fall on the pavement, resulting in serious injuries. Okay, we talked about that. About 35 seconds later, the number 2 engine was shut down.
So I'm going to go in the average evacuation checklist. That's not the way it normally happens.
No.
Normally you shut the engines first, and then the last thing you do is call for the evacuation.
Well, if you scroll a little bit further down here, Nick, under communications, I thought this was...
Oh, yes. Okay.
Very, very important.
Get to this.
Yeah. So the flight attendant, the lead flight attendant, the purser, whatever you want to call that person, activated the emergency signaling system located on a panel above the jump seat to notify the flight deck and the other crew members of an emergency. The chime was audible in the cockpit voice recording, but the flight crew did not respond via the interphone. So they didn't check to see what was going on in the back. There was no indication on the cockpit voice recorder of an evacuation checklist or communication between the cabin and the flight deck. Now, I'm sure that they had their hands full there communicating with Tower, the other airplane that's seeing a massive fuel leak, and then saying the engine's on fire. It was, probably pretty chaotic up there, but no acknowledgement at all or communication at all with the flight attendant crew. So that was not
to
optimum.
Me. That is a problem, but I can understand that sometimes when you're receiving inputs which are probably going to be duplicated. Yeah. Tower's going to tell you you're on fire. The fireman's going to tell you on fire. Your flight crew in the back's going to tell you on fire. You're on fire.
Right.
For me, the big thing is that leads to an action, and the action is to do the evacuation checklist. And
exactly.
that, for me, is just the biggest error, and I think it's unforgivable.
Yeah.
But they didn't run the evacuation checklist.
Not sure. I didn't read the full report. I'm not sure what happened with the captain and first officer with this particular company. This was one of these smaller charter kind of operations. I believe they were based in at the Piedmont Triad Airport. You may have heard of that airport in North Carolina. And they had, I guess this airplane had been in storage for, what was it, like 29 months, something like that. Let's see. And it was owned by Kalitta. And then I guess this company leased the airplane. And so after this long-term storage, apparently they didn't notice that the fuel coupling had not been safety wired. Let's see. So additionally, the strut fuel feed line components, while not specifically called out, could be looked at during a zonal inspection, general visual of the area during a 1C interval. That's a kind of a major check. The airplane accumulated about 240 flight hours between the fuel line coupling service and the accident. So, yeah.
For the wonder of a couple of dollars of locking wire.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who aren't the least bit familiar with what that does, if you have a bolt that needs to remain nice and tight, and because of vibration, it can have a tendency to undo, then the bolt is often shaped like a little castle. And in the shaft of the bolt, when you screw it on, there's a hole, and you can run wire through that hole and wrap it around the bolt so that it locks it in place, hence the term locking wire. So it's real cheap stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, $2 and you've got a written off airplane and severely injured passenger and all the nightmare that followed.
Exactly. Pilot Pip in the live chat room on YouTube says, was it a checklist for you, Nick, or memory items? And I think he's talking about the evacuation checklist.
It was a checklist for us. I know some airlines did it as a memory item, Pip, but for us it was a checklist. And because it was very simple for us to run, it was on the back of our tray table. So, and on the back of the QRH. So you just had to grab the QRH and it was right there in front of you. And we used to make a point of doing it, it used to take a good 15 or 20 seconds to get through it. But it was so important to make sure you got that right, because if you miss a step, you could just end up in this situation. So, we didn't rely on our memories for that one.
Exactly. It's very, very important, especially with this checklist, that it be done deliberately and not rushing through it, which I'm imagining would be very difficult to do when you have all kinds of things going on. But for same thing with Acme, our evacuation checklists are on the back page of the QRH. That's always my briefing. If we decide that an emergency evacuation is necessary, just grab the QRH back page and just start running that checklist.
Yeah, I mean, you get one little thing out of sync, like you had to turn the batteries off. If you forgot to make a radio call telling air traffic you're evacuating, turn the batteries off first, you didn't have any radio left.
Yeah.
And so, it was very important to get everything in the right order.
Gail makes a very good point. Step 1, stop screaming. Oh, wait, that's for me. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, so a lot of mistakes made there. But, a lot of things happen very, very quickly. But I still would love to, maybe in the final report language that I did not read, maybe they go into a little bit more detail regarding that. The anomaly detected with the fuel quantity indication, the fuel tank configuration, 20 minutes before pushback.
Yeah, that would have been a good pickup from the crew if they'd sussed that.
Right.
Why is this weird? Yeah.
Well, and finally, I think this is the most distressing item in our news notebook today.
How dry I am.
How dry I'll be. Oh, nope. I guess I know a different version. So,
is that you playing the trumpet, Jeff?
Yeah. No,
I thought so, yeah.
That's a trombone, actually. And that one, I think that was Evan Shu. I think he plays the trombone down in Australia. This is from CNN. Alcohol sales may have boomed during our lockdown, but our return to air travel will be an altogether more sobering experience. Oh, I get it. Sobering. Airlines, including EasyJet and KLM in Europe, Delta Airlines and American Airlines in the United States, and Asia's Virgin Australia, are suspending all or part of their alcoholic drinks service in response to COVID-19. It's part of a widespread revision of the industry's food and drink service to minimize interaction between crew and passengers and to ensure a safer journey for all. With face masks already mandatory on pretty much all flights around the world, and new legislation introduced in January 2020 to curb antisocial behavior on flights, it's another in a line of barriers, literal and legal, to get to getting high in the sky. Wow, who is the person that wrote this? I don't see the byline. I'd like to smack him. Anyway, very, very clever, I should say. Very clever writing. British low-cost airline EasyJet resumed domestic routes across the UK and France on June 15th. Huh? June 15th. Oh, that was just 2 days ago. Okay. And alongside a handful of international routes, while customers can bring food and non-alcoholic drinks on board. At the beginning, the only refreshments on offer will be water, which has been requested from the crew. Food service will resume gradually in coming months. So it looks like some of the international operations for both the UK, European, and U.S. airlines are not going to be completely alcohol-free, but they're limiting it as much as they can. So that's sad for those of us who enjoy an alcoholic beverage when we're not working, of course. If we're just traveling as passengers in the back, it's kind of nice to have a little champagne or wine or beer or all the above.
Yes, it certainly is. I mean, I can understand why they're doing it.
Yeah.
The more times you have to take your mask off, the more likely you are to spread something if you're contaminated, if you're harboring the virus. But it's going to be a while before we get back to the old days, I'm sure.
Well, Carl in our chat room makes a very good point. I'm pretty sure access to alcohol is in the passenger bill of rights. Am I right? I think you are, Carl. We need to start a movement. And as Nick and I always like to say, movements are good.
Exactly right. Yeah, if you
especially when you get to be our age.
Yeah.
Just kidding. We're not that old.
And now I'm no longer actually earning money doing this job. I think having alcohol on airplanes is a great idea.
Oh yeah. I can't think of a better one. And I'm not even imbibed. Are you drinking alcohol right now, sir?
Well, I have, in fact, got my old curmudgeon, that beautiful.
Oh, very, very nice.
Big, there we go. That's the one.
Yes.
And I made myself a beautiful frozen banana milkshake.
Ooh.
And I thought there's something missing, so I chucked some vodka in, and it's quite nice now.
You nailed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
It's a coffee banana vodka milkshake.
Well, that's
cocktail.
Ooh, I like it. I'm going to have to try one of those one of these days. So, well, that is, I think, the most appropriate. Visit. Yeah, I do. That's the most appropriate way, I think, to end our news segment and slide right on into the getting to know you part of the show. Thank you, Liz, for putting that overlay up. There's the gang. Only two of us here so far, still.
Yep. Top right corner.
Yep. Okay. Let me move over here to not a lot going on with me over here in Roswell, Georgia, hunkered down in the APG HQ. Haven't been on any trips, obviously, because the airplane that I fly and Dana flies has been retired. So no flying for us. I think since the last show, I believe the news for both Dana and I the news is that we have been assigned kind of an idea of when we are going to be going to training. I'm not sure exactly with Dana because he wasn't on the same document that my name was listed, and I think it's because he is being converted and probably trained within the next month or two, I would imagine. I'm not sure if he's received a a date, a firm date yet for learning how to fly the 737. But I can tell you that mine says for me to expect training in October for the 717 and
Right,
conversion
June,
in
July,
November.
August, September. Oh, you've got 4 months off.
I got a lot of quarantining to do, and so I think what I'm going to do is
Wow.
maybe like spend a couple of weeks up in Toronto quarantining with Liz, and then maybe a couple of weeks in the UK
Oh, yeah, weather's
quarantining with
nice
you over
here.
there. Yeah. Hey, Steph.
Hi,
All
Stephanie.
right. Let's see. Let me find the little thing for you here. That's what she said. All right. From her lakeside home in the Carolinas, Dr. Skydiver, marathon runner, strength training junkie, IPA connoisseur, and commercial multi-engine instrument rated pilot. She's Dr. Steph. Hello.
Hey, how's it going, Captain Jeff? Finally made it. Sorry for the confusion. I forgot we were going to kind of
Have a
stagger
show.
that. Yeah. Well, no, I knew we were having a show. Just we had this whole like production meeting last week after the show, and we decided how we were going to time things, and then we all promptly forgot.
Yeah. I think the only one that
we're
really
professionals.
knows is Liz.
Mhm.
She has to remind us. You do remember now, Jeff, that there's a show today, right? Oh yeah.
I didn't bother to look at the actual time that was listed on the calendar. I just knew I was going to be here at like 4:00.
Liz, make a note. Special notifications go out to Dr. Steph the day of the show, specifically time. So how's work going for you?
It's weird, to be honest. My schedule looks full on paper, and then like a quarter of the people show up. So that's not great. I'd like to be busier than that usually, even with everything that's going on now. But I really think it's still just a combination of, where I am, the area I'm in is kind of back in the news for cases going up of coronavirus. And I think we actually heard from some patients saying, hey, I'm just not willing to go out right now. So we might need to change back to more telemedicine stuff. I'm not sure.
Are the cases going up or hospitalizations going up?
Cases.
Okay, and
but that kind of follows
being more testing and stuff.
No, not necessarily.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
But with more cases, usually means more hospitalizations, more people who are acutely ill with it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, interesting. So things are not too.
Things are a little slow. Yeah. Well, it was good this morning. We have a new nurse practitioner who's mostly going to be working with me in the office, so we had a lot of time to just do some learning stuff. Just go over a whole bunch of the stuff that's really kind of boring. So billing, coding, documentation, stuff like that. But it was good. We needed time to sit down and do that, and we had that time this morning.
All right. Any flying at all since the last show?
Yeah, since the last show. When did we do the last show? Last Wednesday?
I think so.
Is that right?
A week ago.
About a week ago.
About a week ago. Yeah, I went. I did. So I've officially started working on my tailwheel endorsement.
Ooh.
Not that that'll take too long to do. I hope not. But I did an hour in a Citabria and an hour in a Cub on a little grass strip, and that was a lot of fun.
Very nice. How are you coping with the swing?
Yeah. So far, okay.
Good.
Favorable wind days, so it's good.
No incredibly difficult crosswind landing.
No, not yet. We have not gotten that far yet.
No taxiing hiccups.
No taxiing hiccups so far. Taxi
excellent.
like a
good job.
The old ground
90-year-old grandmother.
Oh yeah,
very slowly. No.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
maybe you can teach me a thing or two about flying a tailwheel.
I'm definitely not there yet. We'll give it a little more time.
All right.
Well, it was a few years ago, but the chipmunk I used to fly has a tail wheel. So.
Back in World War One.
Yeah, at least my Boer War. I think it might have been actually.
Just kidding. He's not that much older than I am. So when I make these old people jokes, I'm really poking fun at myself as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just happen to look it now. Don't you think?
No, look old.
Johnny, you're youngsters.
It might have something to do with that huge beard that you're sporting.
Yeah.
That's a beard.
It's becoming quite a beard, yes.
Yeah. Anything else interesting in your life, Steph, other than which is really interesting, the tail wheel?
It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's we talk about stick and rudder flying and jumping that Cub that doesn't even have a starter, so you got to hand prop the thing and
Ooh, boy.
yeah, good stuff.
Don't do what the was it a Cirrus that we were seeing video
Oh,
of?
don't. Yeah, no. At
Yeah.
least they're a little more docile than that too, though. So, fortunately,
Actually, the Cub's a lovely little airplane. I think it's
it
brilliant.
really is. It's very elegant and simple and fun to fly.
And popular. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not really aerobatic, is it?
The Cub, no. The Citabria, yes, a little bit.
Right.
Mhm. So maybe that's next on the list.
Yeah,
Something like
yeah.
that.
That'd be fun. Hey, by the way, if you hear something that sounds like thunder in the background, well, it's not
Oh,
thunder. It's my stomach. I didn't.
did you want to
eat.
get some food, Jeff?
I'm going to get some food after the show, so just bear with me. Hopefully, it won't make too much noise.
I've got M&Ms in the freezer.
Okay.
I can
Yeah,
pass
it's not
them to you.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Here we go. Got him.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Nice catch.
All right.
Anyone
I was.
listening to the audio was like, "What is happening right now?"
Yeah. What are they doing? We have the same question.
Mhm.
So I was mentioning that I did learn that I'm scheduled to start my training. Again, this is just a guess, but they're thinking October. So I have some time off. So
It is June 17th. So
It is. Yeah. I have a couple of months to just play, I guess. And I mean, work hard. And let's see, that's it. Going on with me. I did want to mention or remind people again, let's see, it's the 17th. So hopefully this will be out before the actual Armchair Air Show, aeroability.com. It'll be in the show notes. The Armchair Air Show 2020, which you can watch on YouTube, will be happening. I guess we figured out that was Saturday, right? The day of that, I believe. No,
yes,
now I'm confused.
something like that.
Yeah. Well, it's in the show notes if you want to check it out. And also, we were talking about eyebrow windows, and I believe Dana said something about the 737 and eyebrow windows, and Lieutenant Colonel Daddy 71 on the YouTube left a YouTube comment, and he goes, and he flies for an airline that flies exclusively the 737. And he said, 73s do not have eyebrow windows. They have been gone since the new generation, the NG series. So relax, LOL. So thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Daddy. I will tell Dana that he can relax.
Yeah, that was one of those ones I was trying to remember. I'm like, I know I've seen them on 73s, but not recently.
What was he worried about, getting sunburned or something?
I don't know what. I'm not sure what people are so worried about when it comes to eyebrow windows. I've always liked them, but I'm old school, so no help for me.
You old guys.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh wait, old school.
Well, the older you get, the bigger your eyebrows get, so you probably need a whole window for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we used to have a swim coach who could pull his eyebrows down over his eyeball.
Trimmed my eyebrows, so I don't need any windows for them. Yeah. So as Masha said earlier, okay, boomer. So there we go. And that really is all I have. I've been been walking every day about 6-7 miles or so, and trying to get the what do they call it, the pandemic pounds off.
Is that what they're calling them now?
I heard that on the radio earlier today. Pandemic pounds.
Oh my god! Like it's freshman 15.
What are they called if you measure your weight in kilos then?
Oh,
kilos.
COVID kilos.
COVID kilos. Oh, I like it. Well done, Steph.
Or COVID carbs.
COVID carbs.
Liz saying from the control room.
Like
very good.
COVID kilos.
Yeah. Anyway, Captain Nick, how about yourself, sir? Other than the COVID carbs and the COVID kilos, what's going on?
Nothing. So I tell you what, in future weeks you can just skip me. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but somebody's going to
If you have something to say, just let us know.
Yeah, I'll just put my hand up. Okay. I do know tomorrow is a bit of a special day, June the 18th, and this year I managed to remember my anniversary, so that's a good start. And it's a great.
You're speaking of?
Yeah, wedding anniversary. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a good number this year. The number of my first fighter squadron, 43. So yeah, 43 years this year. So we're hanging on in there.
Which anniversary is that? Like
The one between the 42nd and the 44th.
I'm hoping it doesn't have anything attached to it because I certainly haven't bought anything appropriate.
Your gift is yourself.
You say 43,
Exactly.
40.
She's looking it up.
I'm gonna look for you. We'll make you look really good.
Right. Do you realize Amazon can't deliver that quickly?
Well, there is no anniversary symbol for 43rd.
Oh,
You're off the hook.
You're off the hook.
Well, the squadron symbol was a cockerel, so I could get her a cock.
Well, okay.
It's a special anniversary indeed.
A fighting cock,
ladies and gentlemen.
Or not. Should we move on?
Yeah,
I have another sound effect that I will not play. I promise you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. But we all know what it is.
I know what it is. In this context, I prefer you not play it.
Yes, I will. Yeah, it would.
A little
connotation,
too close
context.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be good. All right. And let's see. We're going to find out about Rick and Dana, but neither of them are here today. So we're going to just move on then with the coffee fun, unless there's anything else to discuss before we move on to the feedback. I might be able to get a lot of feedback accomplished today. So let me do this first.
Johnny, how much more coffee? No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
All right. It is the time to talk about our fantastic folks who give us contributions, financial contributions to the Coffee Fund, the Coffee Fund Cadre, the Coffee Bar Club. And since the last episode, we have William Walton using the classic fund contribution method. And we also have some folks who have become patrons of the show via patreon.com. And we have a new producer, Reed. He prefers to leave his last name out of it so that nobody can identify him with this show. Can you blame him? Also, Kylie Barron up in the Chicago area. Kylie, thank you. She is a new executive producer of the show, so we do appreciate that. And by the way, we are going to start cranking up those contributions again from our patrons starting this month of June. Hope you enjoyed the couple months off. And if you want to learn more about how you can become a contributor via the Coffee Fund, head over to the airlinepilotguy.com/coffee page, and all the information is there.
Captain, incoming message.
Feedback. Wearing my King of the RV shirt. That was the overlay. If you're watching if you're listening to the audio, you will not hear any of this. I'll cut it out. So the rest of you, of course, are watching us via YouTube video and Facebook Live video. And let's see. Adam says, haven't Breitling announced a new watch range today? Oh, yeah, maybe that's where Rick is. I don't know. He used some kind of a water leak as an excuse, but maybe you're right, Adam.
Perhaps his watch has a water leak.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Is it powered by some sort of
hydroelectricity?
Hydroelectricity. The size of it, it probably needs it.
Could be. Yeah, it could be. All right. Let's start off with some audio feedback. This was actually left on Facebook, and I actually looked at my Facebook page and the Airline Pilot Guy page on Facebook earlier today and noticed that Soren Orskov Nielsen left some audio feedback on the Facebook page. And so I'll let him explain why he's leaving me this audio.
Hello, guys. My name is Soren Nielsen. I'm from Copenhagen, Denmark.
So, Jeff, your surname is Nilsson. Let's pick up some Danish words. Okay. You ready for that?
Yeah.
Yes, I thought so. All right. Let's say if you want to say, how do you do in
How do you
Danish,
do?
then you actually say this. Hvordan går det? Was that difficult?
How do
Yes.
you do?
Try again, maybe.
Okay.
Hvordan går det?
Wooden gold
Was that more easy? Well, I reckon not.
No.
Danish is actually quite a hard language to learn for foreigners, but give it a go. Thank you in advance. Take care. Bye-bye.
Oh, you know what? I could quarantine myself in Copenhagen.
You could, but the phrase you really need is "To tak min ven betaler."
Okay, I'll practice that one too. Is that 2 beers, please?
Yep.
2 beers. This is my friend. He has the money.
He'll pay.
Yes, please. My friend will pay.
My friend will pay. Yeah.
So Soren Nielsen, spelled the same way, Nielsen, says, I'm a school teacher in Danish, history, and gymnastics. He has a second job as a freelance social media, or he does freelance social media for a Danish airline called Nordic Seaplanes. We run a seaplane business route between Copenhagen and Aarhus, as well as plural sightseeing tours over the same cities and charters to Skagen or Skagen, not sure, and some small Danish islands. The seaplane is a Twin Otter DHC-6-300.
What is it Dana calls that? A twatter?
It's twatter.
Yeah. And one of the owners, Lars Erik Nielsen, Erik, the same as my nephew in Southern California, Eric Nielsen, did actually start the Moldovan air taxi company in the Maldives. Maldivian.
Yeah, you spelled it Maldivian.
Air taxi company in the Maldives in 1992. The company was later sold to Blackstone and renamed TMA, which is Trans Maldivian Airways. Wow.
Just start with Maldivian. Your language learning process.
Airways.
That sounds like the job for us all to retire to.
I like it.
Flying around the Maldives, that'd be fabulous.
I've spent a little bit of time in my life in a island chain south of the Maldives in the Indian Ocean, Diego Garcia, the archipelago there. And I tell you, it's a beautiful place. I've never been to the Maldives myself. I've seen a lot of tourist photos of it, and it looks like a really nice place to retire, Nick.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Particularly if you like a bit of scuba diving.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Soren, for the lesson. I guess he's going to have to send me some more phrases so that I can start trying to pick up some Danish girls. Ivor, what a great day. Okay, dear pilot people. Oh, I should probably play the Ivor thing. Here we go. As his own theme music. The Adventures of Ivor and Tarquin. However, this case, it's just Ivor. Dear pilot people, I see you are attempting to throw together one of your podcast things on the 17th of June. I can understand why you would attempt this, but on June 17th? I've not received a letter requesting permission to bother the populace. This is necessary, as this is a very special day, like the Queen's official birthday, only it's my actual birthday. As you can imagine, most of the UK comes grinding to a halt to salute my general greatness and my obvious popularity. And now, as you chaps and ladies are in another country, perhaps a less respectful country, I will excuse your oversight. Please carry on potting or casting, or is it podcasting? Yeah, that's it, podcasting. Bravo to you all. After all, you're keeping the world on level footing. So feel no guilt, as I love you all. Well, most of you. Chemtrails ahoy. Ivor. Happy birthday, Ivor.
Happy birthday. Not sure
absolutely.
how we let your message through, though.
Yeah.
Well,
you picking up your old age pension yet? I think he must be, surely.
Now he's just living right over the Welsh border. Is that correct? That's where he is.
You mean you mean just right over the? I mean, it's another country. It's like you know.
But it's not far from the
yeah,
English
it's
border.
200 years away.
Oh,
You know,
well, if you're speaking of time, then perhaps.
It's probably the actual physical distance between,
Yeah, I
like,
was
you
thinking
know, Charlotte and
Oh, right.
Atlanta, Jeff,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay. Well, I know, but I mean, I think I actually looked it up on a map, and it's literally within just a couple of miles over the English
couple of inches. Yeah.
or very on my map it was just like this.
Yeah. No
Very
distance at all.
So happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
you.
Happy birthday, dear
Happy
Ivor.
birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. And I'm not going to attempt to try to sync all that up in post. Sorry.
I wouldn't.
More fun that way.
Yeah. All right. Item 3, Stanley. I was listening to episode 426 on my way home from the Sling Pilot Academy, stopping to pick up some IPA, when I heard you all discussing the Sling. Listener Mike from South Africa flies a Sling 4. The Airplane Factory, a South African company, has its North American headquarters at Zamperini Airfield in Torrance, California. Ooh, I love that word, Zamperini. That sounds like a flying circus or something. Did he
I actually was thinking, like, I just glanced at it. I thought it said Zamboni at first.
Oh,
like,
Zamboni is a totally
cleans
different.
the ice. Different machine. Different thing.
This is also home to the Sling Pilot Academy, which I like to refer to it as the SPA.
The spa.
SPA, which offers an accelerated professional pilot course utilizing Sling 2 light sport airplanes. They also have a couple of twin-engine Technums for multi-engine training. Is the Sling the one that you were flying, Steph?
Me? No.
No. Okay. What was that one you were flying? The light sport that you were
Oh,
flying?
you're talking about the oh my god, too many airplane names in my head at the moment.
Okay. The Zamboni. Okay.
That's where my mind is. The Pipistrel. Sorry.
Oh, that's right, Pipistrel.
Yeah.
Since enrolling in November, I've earned my private pilot certificate. I'm going for my instrument check ride June 1st, and expect to have my commercial certificate, CFII, and multi-engine ratings and certifications completed later this summer. Well, that's cool. Going full force there. I started my training in mostly older Cessnas and Pipers, and I think the six-pack experience is very familiar aircraft was great. In contrast, however, flying the brand new glass panel full view canopy Sling has been a blast. It's a very fun and responsive plane, and we train next to LAX Class B airspace flying over the beautiful Southern California coast. We have students from around the country and indeed around the world, and I would urge listeners considering a flight school to look up Sling Pilot Academy. Thanks for putting together such an entertaining and informative podcast on a consistent basis all these years. I've been listening for the past year, and it makes my long commute to school and work something to look forward to. And again, this is from Stanley Call, 43-year-old former high school teacher and electrician, currently working towards being a CFII. We need more great CFIIs out there. So Stanley, keep going, man. That's great. And he also sent a link to a video on YouTube, flying over thousands of park airplanes and cruise ships. Anyway, it's a video produced by one of our newest students from his first flight. If you don't want to watch the whole thing, there's a 45-second intro edit at the beginning. Oh, was I supposed to play that? I suppose I am supposed to. So I did not get any audio. So here we go. I'm going to hit. Okay. Let me share. Wait, I got to do this first. Hang on.
Rock and roll time.
Ooh, cool. Okay. Let me back that up. Share the screen. And we'll see how this goes. Hopefully well. Let's all watch, shall we? Hello? It's not doing anything. My window is freezing. Okay.
You should warm it up.
Yeah, here.
Turn the heating on.
It's actually kind of a nice, cool day here in Atlanta.
Chilly the past few days.
I went out for my walk earlier, and I thought, well, I might need to put on another shirt or something. But after I started walking, it warmed up. I warmed up. Okay, here we go.
and roll time. Would you like to go low?
Let's see how low you can go. Oh my God, oh my God. We're below the water almost. Whoa!
I mean, the amount of money sitting there is just crazy.
You're flying, sir. You're flying. Whoa.
That's way turbulent.
Oh, you're gonna die. No.
Wow, there's all the passenger ships sitting right there. Look at that.
Coming over to Aliak at 4,000 feet. Oh, God, I'm going to tell you a secret now.
All right, that was from, I guess, samchewy.com or his YouTube channel. Very cool.
That's a nice looking airplane, isn't it?
It is.
What's the other one? There was obviously the little light aircraft. What's the
I think
bigger
it was
one?
also a Sling. I think they make a twin.
Oh, right.
They said there was the the Sling 2 is the light sport aircraft, and then they also have a couple of twin engine Technums. So it might have been that.
There he goes.
The P200 6T.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
Technum.
Yeah.
He also
Sling
sent
for TSI, flying in formation with a Sling trainer and a twin engine, Technum, the
I should
2060.
probably share these as well. He sent us some photos of the inside of the Sling with the big glass canopy. So here, I mean, we shouldn't just keep it to ourselves, right? So let's do this. I had to do the application window. Here we go. All right. So that is the inside of the Sling trainer. And I believe the next one is the outside of the Sling trainer with Sling Pilot Academy. Pardon me?
Oh, I said one was the inside, one was the outside. I said,
Yeah.
Which is which?
Hopefully.
Well, I think this is the outside. I'm thinking. I don't know, but it's been a while since I've flown an airplane, so I might be.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah.
Smart Alex. All right. So thank you, Stanley, for sending in the photos. And I did in that video, I did recognize some of the landmarks that folks were flying over, including the Queen Mary. That was just a quick shot of the Queen Mary docked in the Long Beach Harbor. Very cool attraction for people to the original Queen Mary, not the Queen Mary 2. Anywho, thank you, Stanley, for the feedback. And check it out if you're in Southern California and you're looking for a good place to go learn how to be a private pilot and more. Item number 4, Ralph sends us a link to an article from CNN. German flight to Italy turned away because the airport was still closed. The article starts off by saying, we're all excited about being able to travel again, but German airline Eurowings might be more eager than most. The low-cost carrier resumed services from Dusseldorf to Sardinia, Italy on Saturday. And this was actually published on the 26th of May, but was forced to turn around at its destination because Olbia Airport is still closed. Flight 9844 set off on the 1,170-kilometer flight to Sardinia's Olbia Airport on the morning of May 23rd, but was in Sardinian airspace before being informed by air traffic control that it wasn't open to commercial traffic. Oops. The Airbus A320 hung around for a while in a holding pattern, hoping for permission to land, but no dice. A diversion was proposed to Cagliari, some 190 kilometers away, reports Italian newspaper Corriere della Sera.
Nope.
No. But the flight crew opted to cut its losses and head back to Dusseldorf. This little sightseeing tour of Western Europe for the benefit of the A320's load of 2 Sardinian passengers.
They had 2 passengers?
Apparently. Well, 2 Sardinian passengers, and were there any others? I don't think so. I think it was just 2 passengers. Took a total of 4 hours and 10 minutes. So how did this misunderstanding happen? A Eurowings spokesperson told CNN Travel that, quote, against the background of the coronavirus crisis, the situation at numerous airports in Europe is very dynamic.
And the phones don't work, so we couldn't call them.
And modems and stuff like that. You know,
no one bothers to update those things.
No.
Everyone's working from home. I mean,
well, the large amount of information provided on operating hours or airport closures are often changed at short notice. Not in this case, of course. There are daily changes in entry regulations in the various countries. Honest, it wasn't my fault.
I think it was their faults.
Yeah, they're pointing fingers at each other.
Yeah.
So Ralph says, whose responsibility is this? And I think what he's getting at is it the fault of the pilots for not knowing that the airport was closed, or was it perhaps if Eurowings has the same kind of system that we have, where we have dispatchers that kind of plan the flight for us and kind of look at those types of things? And I'd say probably all the above.
Yeah.
If they were really changing their mind about whether the airport was open or closed on that frequent of a basis or that quick of a basis, and how do you know if the information that you have is old, if it's only, I don't know, say it was from the day before or a couple hours before? How often are you supposed to be up and checking all of that?
Opening and closing like multiple times during the day, or maybe every other day or whatever. And
if they were really closed that whole time, then it's on the pilots and dispatchers.
Yeah. So I think, I know here in the U.S., in this case, it would be a 50-50 thing. We are jointly responsible.
I'm going to blame Italy's Ministry of Infrastructure and Transportation.
Okay, very good.
Because they said that the airport was opening on Sunday, May the 17th. But that decision was overruled the same day at a regional level. So the regional bit, I don't know what you call the regional one.
I don't know, but maybe it wasn't communicated properly or well.
Well, if you're getting mixed information too, if the country
mixed
says
messages, we have,
have
those.
If the official transportation ministry says, "Hey, they're going to be open," that sounds pretty official.
Yeah.
But then the more local province or state or whatever they are in Italy, I'm sorry, I don't know, says nah, or even the city or airport authority, then.
And apparently the pilots weren't persuasive in communicating with air traffic control to get somebody to get the key and open up the airport for them.
Well, they couldn't just say, "Hey, look, we got 2 Sardinian passengers here.
They really want to go home. Come on."
We'd really like to just leave them here and then get out. Like, we're not staying.
If it was a Welsh Royal Air Force base, they could have just landed and gone to the beach.
Go to the beach?
And then said, "I'm leaving. I don't care what you say.
Go ahead and try and stop me."
Try.
Yeah. Just shrug your shoulders and go, "Ciao, bene."
How do you say sorry? So sorry.
Arrivederci.
That's a good one.
Oh, man. All right. Well, thank you, Ralph. I'm not sure we correctly answered that or not, but that was our best shot. It was an interesting story. This one's for Rick, so I'm going to skip 5. Ham Radio Jim had a question for Miami Rick, and he's not here yet. So let's skip number 6. This is from Darren Nolan. I'm a lover of all things aviation. Unfortunately, I missed my calling to be a pilot, but did become a dispatcher for a large private jet charter company, planning all aspects of large international charters for aircraft like the G550s, Globals, and other expensive toys. I recently found your podcast. Feel like I've gotten to know all of you. Yeah, because we have a segment called Getting to Know You. And of course, if you're just watching the podcast, you get to know us too, right? In the recent podcast with the farewell of Captain Nick's father, it seems I must have gotten some dust in my eyes or something, because they got all watery. Yeah, it's kind of dusty over here too.
So a strange phenomenon while listening to that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I have a pathological obsession with the 747 in particular. A few months before United retired their 747, I got to fly on one from Heathrow to San Francisco, which may have been my last time ever flying on one. I totally dorked dorked out, and it says dorked hour. I totally dorked out and wore a Boeing t-shirt with a 747 baseball cap. The flight attendant saw me and asked if I'd like to visit the cockpit. The captain let me sit in the captain's seat and gave me some memorabilia like plastic wings and some cool info on the 747. He proceeded to tell me they normally give that stuff for kids.
It's because of your childlike wonder.
Yeah, we normally give this to kids,
Your
but
childlike curiosity and
Yeah,
fascination.
but if I give it, will you get off my flight deck?
if you promise to leave, we
you can have some. Yeah.
He even took a picture of me in his seat as I'm assuming he means the captain's seat and not his actual seat. As we made our approach into San Francisco, SFO, it was a beautiful sunny day, and I became emotional flying over Marin County, over the Golden Gate, over downtown San Francisco. It was such a wonderful experience. I love listening to you all and feel a part of the community. Great. That's what we want. Our community is the best. Best wishes to you all, and I really hope you all make it through this difficult time. Oh, yeah, we're going to make it. Thank you.
Nice story, Darren.
Yeah.
Yeah, great pictures, too.
Yeah, he sent in some pictures. I will not share them because it's not easy for me to do. It takes me a long time, but great. You know what? No, I'm going to do it because you need to see this, you folks watching the video. So here we go. Application window. We're going to go boom right here and share, and should be there now. And let me double click on this one, and then we can just see the photos themselves. And that's him looking out the window. And that's what he's looking at, that left wing of that big old jet airliner. And there's a picture
of the bridge down there. Golden Gate Bridge is underneath that wing. You probably can't see it. But
Yep.
Here's a great picture of him in front of the window, and the United 747 in the background. Him all dorked out and his Boeing 747 cap. I love it. Looks great.
Great.
Too bad Miami Rick isn't here. He'd be dorking out with you, man.
Mm-hmm.
There he is sitting in the captain's seat. And again, another view of the left wing over some nice overcast skies. So beautiful. Great to have you with the community, Darren.
Those two wingtips are different colors.
Huh. Oh, yeah. One
had blue and one's
interesting.
white.
Must have been two different flights then.
Might have been two different flights, yeah.
All right. We'll look forward to hearing more from you, Darren. And item 7, Captain Peter says, hey, Captain Jeff, recently discovered your podcast and now YouTube channel and enjoying your laid-back style in these fast and troubled times. Regarding 427, I understand your pain. I've never flown the Mad Dog, the MD. However, I did fly the DC-9-30, and I still consider this aircraft to be my favorite of all. Did I skip something?
Yeah, but it's okay. Keep going. I'm sorry. That was just meant for informational purposes.
Yeah, I skipped 5.
Well, you also skipped 7. You said this was number 7, but it's really number 8.
Well, it says 7 in my folder.
Mine just updated, and it all changed. What happened? That was really weird.
Yeah, so
it kicked me all the way out and then back to number 1. I apologize.
Okay.
Forget I said anything. Because you're right. And my Evernote apparently was not up to date.
But
it had not updated itself.
Did you do the same thing, Nick, just now?
You know what happened? I know what happened. So our control room producer director is so efficient that she makes changes on the fly while we're in the middle of the show. And so she probably
had an old edition.
Something.
It's like the airport in Italy and Sardinia.
Yeah.
I have old information and now I don't know what we're doing.
All right. So I'm going to, the magic of podcasting, pretend
like I didn't say anything.
None of this happened. Okay. Item 7 from Captain Peter. Hey, Captain Jeff, recently discovered your podcast and now YouTube channel and enjoying your laid-back style in these fast and troubled times. Regarding episode 427, I understand your pain. I've never flown the MD. However, I did fly the DC-9-30, and I still consider this aircraft to be my favorite of all. It was an airplane you jumped in and strapped on. You felt part of the machine, and no airplane since has been so simple and robust to fly. It was built like the proverbial brick crap house. Nothing like its more modern replacements. I have since flown the 727-200, the 747-200, 300, 400, and -8, the A330 and A340-300, and then he put in parentheses, probably to put some kind of a emoticon or something that perhaps expresses his disdain for that particular jet. I'm not sure. Wasn't the 300 the underpowered version of the 340, Nick?
It didn't have quite as powerful engines. Mind you, the C4 engines on that version were fine. If he had C2s, he probably would have noticed.
Okay, so I'm not sure why he put the parentheses in there, but anyway. And presently the 777-300/300ER. Wow, quite a
resume.
Great, quite a resume. Thank you. I like Dana, he says. Well, we do too. Oh no, I, like Dana, may have had my last flight on type without knowing it, as my version of Acme Airlines have asked for volunteers to go back to the 747 to fly freight, and I put my hand up, thinking that passenger flying internationally will not be much fun for quite a while. Also, I miss the old girl. And Anchorage. He misses Anchorage. We now operate the 747-400 ERF, the best of all the series, so this will be my second favorite, and the -8F. Good also. However, Boeing tried too hard to make it a -400. Yeah, they did something with the software and flight control systems to try to make it feel like the 747-400, I guess. I think Rick was talking about that. Anywho, keep up the great work with the show. I hope you and Dana have a successful outcome to your enforced lifestyle change. Always blue side up, Captain Peter. I'm not sure I know which one of the Acmes he flies for. Do you guys have any
I was
idea?
trying to decide, and I don't know.
Now, a clue might be that he has used words such as favorite.
Favorite and aeroplane.
Aeroplane and not airplane. So I'm assuming he's not flying for a U.S. carrier.
Yeah.
But that would be a
all
guess.
those types have been on the same airline? Do you
Well, I
reckon?
don't know. That's a good point. I assumed that they were, but perhaps not. Maybe he flew them for several different.
Yeah,
It's got passenger side and freight side. Apparently.
Well, there are some European airlines where they might have that combination, but
You know
Also
what?
Asian ones as well.
I think that there's a German airline that I believe has flown all those.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yes.
Yeah. Huh. Well, maybe we'll find. He'll give us some more clues in the future. Maybe.
Don't tell us outright. Make us guess it for a while.
Yeah. Make us work for it.
What's so nice about Anchorage?
Anchorage is great. It's cold.
Yeah, why?
It's tiny.
There's a wonderful place for. I think it's a brunch restaurant called the Alaskan Bush Company. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's something entirely different. Never mind.
I was gonna say.
Moving on. Let's see. It's time for Matt.
Family show, ladies and gentlemen. Family show.
So I don't.
Is
It's
that where they-
beautiful. It's a
They
beautiful
have pet beavers there.
pet peeves there.
Pet beavers.
Oh yeah, I see.
Well, there's a few of those on floats over at Lakehead Seaplane.
Yes, a lot of beavers there in Anchorage.
I was just wondering. Yeah.
in the water on floats. Okay, moving
Wow,
on.
how did that happen?
I don't know. That was my fault, I think. I'm sorry. Item number 8, I think. Frank writes, "Hi, APG crew. Was listening a couple of episodes back to Miami Rick and Captain Jeff talk about how beautiful flying into Portland, Oregon was. It reminded me of this beautiful picture I was lucky enough to snap just after an hour-long nap and raising the window in the nick of time to catch Mount Hood floating by on the clouds. My wife and I were headed to Mount St. Helens to hike the volcano, then on to the coast. Of course, we dutifully flew out on Acme Airlines. Yay. Thank you. Thanks so much for the podcast. Really enjoy what each of you bring to it. Safe flying to all. Frank from Auburn, Alabama. War Eagle." All right. Let me see if I can share his photo. What do you think? I think it's worth it. Here we go. Application window. I wish there was a faster way to do this. There we go. Nice view of the Mount Hood there in the background, huh? Hello?
Yeah, that's sorry, I was muted and I forgot I was muted.
Hello.
I've seen a few mountains. Is that one like special? Because
yeah, it's Mount Hood.
It's just fairly dramatic. You know, it kind of tends to poke up over the clouds like that often. And
I'm sorry, Frank. Nick is not impressed with your photo.
Well, I don't know. I sailed past Everest in the night, and
Everest. What?
In the night, could you even see it?
Well, the moon was up, and it sort of went past the window like this ghostly mountaintop. It was pretty impressive.
I'll bet it was.
Mm.
What does it peak out at?
29,000 something.
Yeah.
Not even 30,000.
Not quite.
What mountain is that?
It's shy by a couple hundred feet, I think.
All right, moving on to item 9, Swansea Mark. Am I saying that right? Swansea?
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 Swansea.
More of a Z sound?
Swansea, yes. Pretend there's a Z in there. Swansea.
Okay, Swansea. Hi, Jeff, Nick, Rick, Steph, Dana, and behind the scenes, Liz. Here in the UK, we will soon be needing to wear face masks on public transport, and I'm pretty sure on most flights. So how about asking those nice folks at Redbubble if they could make some APG-themed face masks? APG is the best. That's on in all caps there. The best podcast. Well, it's the only one I listen to, as there are only 168 hours in the week. But I'm sure it's the best. I think you're right.
Definitely.
Thanks for keeping my spirits up during all the home do-it-yourself jobs I've been doing during lockdown. All the best to you all in your aircraft reallocations. May the Mad Dogs rest in peace. Swansea Mark, part-time cardiac guy at the Acme Aviation Authority.
Oh, there are a few people that would like to keep in with him.
Yes.
Yeah. If he's the cardiac guy at Acme Aviation Authority, Swansea Mark. I wonder if I've
I think we've received feedback from him in the past about about being the cardiac guy at the AAA, AAA.
It's like the FAA, but better.
Yeah, because it's A, because A comes before F. Yeah. All right. Michelle or Michael, Michel, sent us this, and I don't know if you watched this little video, but it's pretty funny. Hello, Captains Jeff, Nick, Dana, Rick, and Dr. Steph, and Ms. Liz. I had to send this link. Very funny, and this is from TikTok. One of the social medias that we're not on and do not intend to.
No, it's a rabbit hole of stuff. Don't go there if you haven't already, or do if you've got a lot of time on your hands.
So, let's see. Should I try to play or should I just click on it and
try to play it?
Like with the video as well?
Yeah. Can you do that?
I think so. Let me hear.
The warning: there are a few rude words.
Okay, so wait a minute.
Minor cover your ears.
Okay, yeah. How do I back it up? Probably can't.
You can't. You just have to let it play through.
Okay, so let me set it up then. Come on now, Jeffrey. You can figure this out. Share screen. And it's in a Chrome tab, and I'm going to click share audio, and then I'm going to select it. And which one is it? I'm trying to find it. A lot of tabs open, apparently. What's the in the top part of it? What is the website? I know it's TikTok, but I don't see. Oh, here it is. Okay. Share. There we go. Are you seeing that?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to refresh this. And kind of click.
How many switches do I need to turn on before he gets over there? Get off, mate. Off. Oh. Clear prop. Ready? I can't do it, man. He's gonna fucking turn into a. It'll fuck him up.
Oh.
Feathers.
Beep, beep. Yeah, I guess I'll clip that out at the very end. I'll put some sensor beeps in there. Yeah, that's what kind of bird is that?
Sounds like a pigeon of some sort.
Yeah,
It
But
looks
it's got
like a magpie, but
yeah.
what country is it?
Sounds like Australia.
Yeah, the magpies there got a bit of white on them. I would say it's a magpie, but
yes.
but I'm no expert.
Liz said, "I tried to warn you." Yeah, I know you did. I saw.
I watched it already.
Warning language. But you know, when you hang out with these folks on the APG crew, you hear that so much that you just don't even hear it anymore.
Until you're actually on the podcast. And then it's like glaringly obvious.
Anyway, so for those of you on the audio only, please click on the link. Again, be forewarned that there's a little bit of language at the end of it, but a very interesting view of a propeller with a bird of some sort perched on top of the prop. And
not going anywhere. I'm pretty vocal about it.
Yep, very vocal about it. All right, item 11. We're making great progress here. Brian H. says, hello, Brian H. here. I have two topics that could stir a good discussion and educate us listeners. The first one is reference to this video showing a plane activating the reverse thrust prior to touching down. I remember hearing a similar story from an old-timer pilot who used to fly Gulfstream G4s back in the 80s. I'm pretty sure I recall him telling me that they were able to open up the buckets in flight to use as speed brakes. I'm hoping you guys can discuss this. And then he sent us, well, the link, of course, to the YouTube video, and I will not play it. I'm going to give myself a break here, but I'll have the link to it in the show notes. And I'm trusting that, well, I think Nick, I know that Nick and I have watched this video. Steph, have you had a chance to look at this landing in this Tupolev 1-4?
I have not watched the whole thing, but the screenshot makes it clear what is happening.
It's a good screenshot. So it touches down and bounces a bit, if I recall. And then during the bounce is when the thrust reverse.
Well, I'm just going to say, Joe, I'm just watched it again. I don't see a bounce. I think he managed to get it. He floats.
Oh, he's floating.
But he gets him out before he touches his wheels.
Now, do you think it's because he said, well, I need something to get this thing to drop out of the air and get on the runway? Or do you think that maybe he thought he was on the runway?
Well, I don't know. He gives it a bit of a yug to because he looks like he's going to touch down, and then he balloons, and then he pops them, and the airplane settles down. But I mean, it looks nicely controlled. To be fair, it's an actual. The actual maneuver as flown is dangerous, but I'm just a bit concerned about reversers that deploy without some kind of a safety mechanism to prevent them deploying in flight. But if this particular aircraft is cleared for reverser use in flight, then I suppose it's okay.
I think that there are a lot of airplanes out there that you can deploy the thrust reversers in flight, and some, I think the 707 or maybe the DC-8. Somebody was telling me, because we were flying them in Acme, the DC-8s, and I think that they said you could extend the reversers. And I don't know if it was just two of them at a time, or maybe only two of the engines had them. I'm not sure, but they said if you did, it was not comfortable at all. It was very jarring, very noisy, made the airplane shake like it was coming apart. But they were designed to be deployed in flight if you needed them. I guess really have to need them to do it. But I'm pretty sure that some of the airplanes I've flown in the past, although my knowledge of the systems now is a fleeting memory, where you could actually deploy them. But you have to. It's not like you can just accidentally hit a little button and they come out. You have to do some pretty physical things to, like on the Mad Dog, where you had the regular thrust or thrust levers, or what does Al prefer them to be called? Not thrust.
Thrust levers.
Throttles. He likes
throttle.
throttles.
No, he likes thrust levers.
I was actually Captain Al has actually trained me so well. I'm not even calling them throttles anymore. The thrust levers, where you'd have to actually lift up your hand and then grab the two other reverse thrust handles to activate them. So it would be, you have to be deliberate to actually operate them in flight.
I'm also going to say that you could only ever really have this kind of a system on aircraft with engines on the fuselage, so that you're more or less inline thrust. Because if you had these out on the wings in pods and they deployed at the wrong time, the airplane, or just one deployed in flight, the airplane could swap ends. It would be really nasty.
The DC-8 was wing-mounted engines. And
really?
Yeah,
I mean, could do that.
Yeah.
There's a comment in the chat room, and I saw the comment actually in the video for this YouTube video that the C-17 descends with some reverse thrust.
No, they can probably
also
use it as well.
Wow.
I'm
We used to
no
be able
expert on that. I'm just repeating.
We used to be able to pre-select them in the Tornado. And they got a bit so that as soon as your wheels touch, they would deploy. But the authorities got a little bit upset with us because there's one bloke, of course, who just a bit of a cock up. He came down, he pre-selected them, and then in short finals he dropped a little low, and so he put a whole hoof of power on and pitched the nose up to try and compensate. And so when he hit the deck, his nose was way up and he had a real handful of power on. And then, of course, the reversers deployed and the airplane pitched down so hard it just snapped the nose wheel off.
That's not good.
Ouch.
A bit embarrassing.
Oops.
Oopsie.
So stop quickly.
Definitely slowed that or decreased that landing roll.
Oh, yeah. Stop very quickly. And they didn't need the steps to climb out either.
Solved a couple problems.
Yeah, exactly. It just stepped
created
over the
one big problem and resolved two little problems.
Yeah.
All right. He has another question here. The second topic is Rick's explanation about RAIM.
I want to leave this for Rick.
Maybe we should.
Unless you want to dive into WAS and non-WAS and RNAV approaches.
Yeah, I can't answer this one. We need to have Rick here for this one. So we'll make sure that we put item 11 back into the feedback for our next show. So thank you, Brian. At least we were able to discuss the first topic that you wrote to us about, and look forward to hearing from you again in the future. Ahmad writes, hello, dear APGers. Wish I had been online during this episode so that I could add, and I guess he's talking about episode 426. The 747 was once described as the place that used to go to Hawaii twice a day. Not the plane, but the place. This was back in the day when Pan Am had 2 daily flights to Hawaii from mainland USA. I confirmed this from Boeing Commercial Airplanes Division of Boeing Company in a mail that they sent to me with a huge poster back when I was a kid that couldn't resist writing to them asking about how they used to do the awesome things that they do, making their great products. Cheers, Ahmad. Oh, that must have been a thrill as a kid receiving a poster from the Boeing company. And Ahmad is, I believe, in Nigeria.
I used to love doing that when I was a kid, writing off to manufacturers and stuff, and getting a whole bunch of brochures and badges and things. Mm-hmm. Great fun.
It would have never occurred to me to do that as a kid. The only thing we had to do, like it was part of a school project, was to write to like the national park system to get brochures about the national parks. But it was the same kind of like fun and come in the mail. You'd be like, ooh, look, big poster that you can unfold and like stickers and things.
Now, do you think that the actual marketing was the place that used to go to Hawaii twice a day, or maybe he misspelled that? It should be the plane that used to go to. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I'm not sure. I had it in my mind that Air India had a flying palace. You remember they put their little paint marks over the windows to make them look like the windows in an Indian palace.
Uh-huh.
But I'm looking now to see if I can find an advert, but I can't. It would be an old one.
I think he was saying more that the 747 was more the destination than Hawaii actually was.
Okay.
Oh, right. Okay.
Well, that was my take on it.
Yeah,
But
I'm
I'm
doing
not
a quick search
100% certain.
myself to see if I can find that advertising slogan, but I can't. It says no results found for the place, but well, Ahmad, please follow up if you don't mind, and let us know whether or not that was exactly what they said, the place that used to go to Hawaii twice a day. I mean, that makes sense from our perspective, but anyway, very good. Hope you're doing well over there in North Africa. It is North Africa, isn't it? Or is that Central?
No, it'll be North Africa, I think.
Okay. Ramiro writes, greetings, APG crew. Welcome back, Miami Rick, the man, the myth, the legend. Where is he? He's not here with us yet.
The plumber.
The plumber.
And not me. You mean like literal like having to fix plumbing.
Plumb plumber. When I started listening to APG almost 3 years ago, Rick was not on the show, but was often talked about, and most of the time the crew had good things to say about him.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
I mean, if you're not here, you can't defend yourself.
Occasionally.
So. Yeah.
I'm kidding, of course. As a matter of fact, if Rick had not come back to the show, Jeff would have to rename the podcast because after the retirement of the coal burner, Rick is the only active flying airline pilot.
It's true.
That is true at the moment. Yeah. I do have a question, so I'll get to it. I don't see a lot of Airbus A330-200F freighters, at least not in the US. The big three cargo carriers don't have any in their fleet. And a quick search on the internet didn't turn up any or many A330-200Fs. Why do you think it has not been more popular with cargo outfits? It seems to me that it has roughly the same capacity as the 767-300, and being a newer aircraft should have better fuel economy, yet UPS, FedEx, and Atlas have ignored this jet. Is it because Airbus pilots are too sophisticated to spend their time flying rubber dog poo out of Hong Kong?
Yeah, that's exactly the answer. Yeah.
There you go. There's your answer.
The airplane is much too sophisticated. It's too pretty, and it's good. They have really nice bars in them as well. Those freight dogs wouldn't know what to do with one.
Well, I don't know. It says, looking forward to hearing your thoughts on the A332F. I don't know anything about it. Do you?
I happen to know for certain that Rick has very strong thoughts on this.
Oh, yeah?
Which I'm not going to paraphrase, but perhaps we should also save this.
Okay, here's another one.
Yeah, because I have no strong feelings one way or the other, quite honestly.
Put the old dog ear on this one, and we'll reassess at a
regurgitate.
It'll be a good back and forth with Nick and Rick.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
You have me confused with someone who gives a monkey.
You'll have to defend Airbus's honor, I think.
Oh, I don't think so.
This is an interesting one, and I've even seen that this is item 14. Todd, the FAA warns of tail strikes and off-course flying by near-empty jets. And not necessarily. I don't think it really talked about off-course flying, but maybe not leveling off at the proper altitude.
missing altitudes.
Yeah,
assigned altitudes. Yeah,
and this is something that has been addressed at Acme Airlines at the beginning of this pandemic. We were flying airplanes with just a handful of passengers, fewer than 10 on some of those flights, and I flew in March, April, and May, and steadily every trip there were more and more passengers. Toward the end there, last flight on the Mad Dog, I think we had the maximum because we deliberately limited the amount of passengers on our jets for social distancing reasons. But anyway, the airplanes perform very, very well when they're empty, and almost too well. And you have to kind of keep that in mind when you're flying, and you have to think about things like tail strikes and thinking about altitudes. And, the autopilot system is kind of designed to, capture altitudes at normal weights and not, like super, super light weights. And you have to kind of be aware when you're in the situation and it looks like the climb rate is going to be a challenge for your autoflight system to level off. And so, and the other thing you had to, and I briefed this to my first officers, that when we were on these departure procedures, they often fly very close to airplanes coming in on the arrivals, and sometimes it's only 1,000 or 2,000 feet of spacing, vertical space. And I basically said, let's, if it looks like it's going to be an excessive climb rate, let's use a different mode for the vertical navigation or hand flying. Just, pull the power back and reduce the rate of climb so that we don't set off somebody else's TCAS system, traffic collision avoidance system or alert system. Now I can't think of which one it is. Is it avoidance? I think avoidance system, TCAS. And so, yeah, these are things that you have to think about in these weird times when you're flying airplanes that are mostly empty. But again, I think now things are starting to return more to normal as far as the weights are concerned on the airplanes. But there are still issues out there, like, for instance, they showed a couple of reports in recent days, actually in March, from the NASA aviation reporting. What is it called? ARS? Shoot. The NASA reports that we file. Let me look that up. NASA ARS. Yeah.
I wish I could help you out, Jeff, but we don't do that stuff.
Okay. It is the Aviation Safety Reporting System, the ASRS, NASA ASRS Aviation Safety Reporting System. Okay, here are a couple from March. An airline captain landing at Pittsburgh International Airport complained that planes were parked all over one of the runways. That's true, the center runway, 28 center, but had not been marked as closed with lighted signs. So, you got to be careful out there for things like that. A captain reported that an automated warning system ordered them to climb to avoid colliding with another airplane. Okay, that's, the TCAS system I was just talking about. The pilot blamed it on another jet that was climbing faster than usual with a lightly loaded plane. Yeah. And be a good neighbor out there, people. An airline crew said they got a warning that the cabin wasn't properly pressurized. They had been climbing so quickly with an unusually light load at high altitudes that the plane's pressurization system couldn't keep up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which 1950s airplane were they flying?
What do you mean?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Seems
I don't know. Yeah, it seems like most modern airplanes that we fly these days would be able to keep up with the pressurization.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's a good one. After aborting a landing due to gusty winds, an airliner at takeoff power, toga power, climbed so quickly that it exceeded its maximum assigned altitude. Here's the quote. To say I was rattled would be an understatement. I'm concerned that we are flying these aircraft too light. I can see that when you have a pretty low level off altitude after you initiate a go around, and if you're going to allow the airplane to go into full takeoff go around power, you're going to have your hands full. That's for sure.
We quite often flew and positioned aircraft completely empty. Do other people never get a chance to fly light aircraft? Do they never think about what's likely to happen?
Well, you make a good point. Yeah, we do ferry airplanes around quite often as well, for maintenance reasons or positioning, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon. You're right. So maybe they're just using this whole thing as an excuse for screwing it up. That's my guess.
They're just not thinking about the ramifications of having, very small passenger loads.
Yeah.
Because there's another one there saying that they were concerned about doing their safety paperwork because the aircrafts are being loaded so quickly. Well, it doesn't affect your pushback time just because you've got the passengers on quickly.
Right,
I
and
don't
you have
understand that either.
And most safety reporting systems, they give you like 24 hours after the event occurs to file your safety report. So yeah, that one, not sure. I think I might have to give it a one of these if I can find it. Yeah, can't find it. Why can't I find it? Here we go. Ooh, sorry, that was kind of loud. Okay, I think we should move on then to item 15. And JJ Pittsburgh, you know, we also get feedback from JJ, not Pittsburgh. This one is the actual real official JJ Pittsburgh. And guess where he's from? Pittsburgh. He sent us in, he actually used, and this is a good time to talk about the fact that you can use this system yourself if you want to send us some audio feedback. It's called SpeakPipe. And on our website, if you go to the Contact Us page, I believe, there's a link to SpeakPipe, and it uses the microphone that you have plugged into your computer or the built-in microphone to send feedback. Now, one of the downsides of it, and you'll hear this in this audio that JJ sent in, is that it does do some weird things, especially if you're trying to record music. It must have some kind of a auto leveling software or something. Normally, people use the SpeakPipe as a way to send in audio, like not singing. But JJ is a singer and a guitar player, and he sent in this. So let's hear a little bit of it. It's 3 minutes long, so we're probably just going to play a little bit of it. But JJ took the time to send us the recording using SpeakPipe, and I think we owe it to him to hear what he has to say.
Hey guys, it's JJ Pittsburgh here. I'm going to throw you a curveball. Instead of asking a question, here's a little tune for you. All my bags are packed, I'm ready to go. I'm standing here outside your door. I hate to wake you up to say goodbye, but the dawn is breaking, it's early morning. The Uber's waiting, he's blowing his horn. Already I'm so lonesome I could die. So kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go.
Okay, come on, everybody.
I'm leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. Oh, babe, I hate to go.
All right. Thank you, JJ. He's a great singer. I think he does that for, he does several different jobs, but I think one of them is actually singing professionally. So
I don't think SpeakPipe did him any favors there.
no, he didn't. They didn't. Yeah, it's not the best way.
I mean, you can. So the difference is, if I tried to sing through SpeakPipe, it would be unlistenable. But because JJ is so good, you can actually really hear how good of a singer he is through.
Well, I don't know. We should do an experiment. Let's see.
No.
I'm sorry. I was talking over you, Steph. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, it's. I can hear even through the way SpeakPipe put the audio together that he's very talented.
Yes, he's a wonderful singer, and thank you for singing. I love that song, by the way. Leaving on a Jet Plane, very appropriate for our show. All right. Well, maybe one of these days we can do some karaoke or something. That would be a lot of fun. And I think it might be time.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Are we all out of sync again?
I think so.
Dang it.
Maybe
I'm good.
After.
All right. Yeah, your picture is a little bit fuzzier than normal. You're on your new machine too, so that shouldn't be a problem.
I don't know what the problem is. I'll troubleshoot it.
Okay. All right. Well, you'll have some time to do that, Steph, because it's about time now for this week's installment of The Plain Tale. And this one is entitled The Well-Dressed Aviator.
The old pilots playing tales. The well-dressed aviator. It was the tradition of military officers of the British Empire to equip themselves from one of the many military tailors who plied their trade from Savile Row in London. There are tailors there who made uniforms for the men who fought in the Battle of Waterloo. So when the gentlemen aviators of the First World War were looking for protective clothing to wear whilst doing battle over the trenches of the Somme, they visited establishments such as Alfred Dunhill's, where they were invited to alight for the best equipment, such as the pilot gauntlet, exceptionally flexible and fur-lined, a flying cap in the best nutria and chrome leather, featherweight XXX goggles, detachable fur collars for wonderful luxury in winter weather, sir, and fur-lined stockings, a necessity. Just right for a catalogue illustrating profusely all aviation equipments. Robinson and Cleaver of Regent Street could provide one with the RNAS style flying coat in black leather for 90 shillings and fur-lined boots designed by expert at a mere £5 5 shillings. Alternatively, for the RFC officer, a tan leather lined fleece aviation coat was on offer. Whilst the British military tailor was always looking to follow the latest trends for their customers, even into the air, and take advantage of their dress needs, the first significant stride towards providing effective protection for the pilot arrived from the genius of Sidney Cotton, a pilot with No. 8 Squadron Royal Flying Corps. He decided that he was going to be the best-dressed pilot of the 1917s, and his discovery followed a flight in the winter of the previous year when an unexpected scramble that occurred whilst he was working on the engine of his Bristol Scout meant that he ran to a spare aircraft still wearing his dirty overalls. On landing, he realized that, unlike his fellow pilots, who were all shivering from the cold, he was quite unaffected. Having thought through the occurrence, he realized that it was the oil and grease soaked into the overalls that he was wearing that had retained his body heat. Taking leave, he travelled to London to visit his tailors, Robinson and Cleaver, where he had a one-piece flying suit made to his design. The suit had 3 layers, a thin lining of fur, a layer of airproof silk, and an outer layer made of light Burberry, a hard-wearing fabric in which the yarn is waterproofed before weaving and used to make the famous Burberry gabardine. Suit was soon in great demand, 1,000 being delivered in the very first month, and the tailor registered the design on behalf of Cotton as the Sidcott suit, a portmanteau of the inventor's name. By the following winter, orders for leather flying coats were being cancelled, and 3,000 Sidcott suits were ordered by the military authorities. This very efficient protective suit became highly prized by all aircrew, and was the very first item to be confiscated from a British pilot should he be taken prisoner by the Germans. Indeed, Baron von Richthofen was wearing one when he was finally shot down. The Sidcott suit was so successful it remained in service in a number of modified forms right through World War II, and only ceased being used when closed cockpits with cabin heating became the norm. It's worth taking a moment to delve into the life of Sidney Cotton, as the Sidcott suit was far from the most interesting thing he did with his life. Born in Queensland, Australia, he spent time in Britain being schooled and in New South Wales as a jackaroo, the name for a young stockman. In between the wars, he worked as a pilot in air races and performed various assignments in Newfoundland, including an airborne SEAL spotting service, as well as aerial search and rescue as far away as Greenland. Shortly before World War II, he was recruited by military intelligence, MI6 to be precise, to take clandestine aerial photographs of the German military buildup. Flying a modified Lockheed 12A with 3 concealed cameras in the fuselage and a Leica hidden in the wing, his cover story was that he was a film producer, or possibly an archaeologist. Although his flight plans were dictated by the German government, he consistently managed to get away with flying off-track over military installations. Cotton had a very persuasive manner and exploited any advantage he could. On the eve of war, he even managed to engineer a joyride over German military airfields on one occasion, accompanied by a senior Luftwaffe officer, Albert Kesselring. With Kesselring at the controls, Cotton quietly reached under his seat and operated the cameras, capturing the airfields on film. Cotton later offered to fly Hermann Goering to London for talks a week before hostilities broke out, and claimed that his was the last civilian aircraft to leave Berlin before the outbreak of hostilities. When war was declared, Cotton was recruited to head the fledgling RAF Photographic Development Unit, greatly improving the RAF's capabilities. He wheedled a few Spitfires out of the RAF and later some Mosquitoes, which were highly polished and painted with a special PRU blue camouflage of Cotton's design. However, he undertook the unauthorized evacuation of British agents from France, including the head of the Christian Dior empire, for which he took a large personal fee. Following his discovery, he was eased out of the military. However, he continued to advise both the RAF and the Navy on such projects as an airborne searchlight for night fighters. Despite his extracurricular activities, he was made an Officer of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. After the war, he transported gold for the Pakistanis and airlifted weapons and medicines during the First Indo-Pakistan War. As a result, he later faced gun-running charges under the United Kingdom's Air Navigation Act and was fined £200. Whilst Frederick Sidney Cotton, OBE, was doing his bit for pilot comfort in Europe, there was an equally colourful character making contributions to the wardrobes of the best-dressed pilots in California. Leslie Leroy Irvin was 5 years old at the start of the 19th century, and he made his first steps into the history books at 16 as a stuntman for the 1914 movie Sky High. He was already flying in balloons, performing trapeze acrobatics and parachute descents when he made his first jump out of an aircraft for the movie at 1,000 feet. By 1918, he had developed his own static line parachute, jumping with it several times and promoting it to the US Army. Irvin joined the Army Air Service Parachute Research Team at McCook Field near Dayton, Ohio, and developed the first modern parachute. On the 28th of April 1919, using the Type A 28-foot backpack parachute, volunteer Leslie Irvin, flying in a de Havilland DH-9 biplane, jumped and manually pulled the ripcord, fully deploying his chute at 1,000 feet to become the first American to jump from an airplane and manually open a parachute in midair. The new chute performed flawlessly, which is more than can be said for Irvin's ankles when he broke one on the landing. Less than 2 months later, Irving had formed the Irving Airchute Company, the world's first parachute designer and manufacturer. Legend has it that Irvin was inadvertently changed to Irving with a G by a secretary who mistakenly tacked the G onto the end of the name, and the company never bothered to correct the mistake until 1970. The Dayton Herald's aviation editor, predicting more jumps in the future, suggested that a club should be formed. 2 years later, Irvin's company instituted the Caterpillar Club, awarding a gold pin to pilots who successfully bailed out of a disabled aircraft using an Irvin parachute. At the end of World War II, the number of members with the Irvin pins had grown to over 34,000, though the total of people saved by Irving parachutes is estimated to be 100,000. Now, whilst a parachute is often worn in an aircraft, it's hardly a very suave item of flying clothing for the debonair pilot, so Irvin designed and manufactured the classic sheepskin flying jacket that bears his name. Irvin's jacket was superb. Made from heavyweight sheepskin, its thick natural wool provided incredible insulation, and whilst the sheepskin was considered heavyweight, the jacket itself was comparatively light and remarkably comfortable. Irvin insisted on the most supple sheepskin. In a cramped cockpit, movement was already restricted, and no pilot or crew would want to be constrained further still. The Irvin jacket was a masterpiece of design, combining warmth and comfort with mobility. The jacket had long sleeves zipped to enable gauntlets to be worn. The wide collar could be raised to provide excellent insulation around the neck, head, and face, while a belt was fitted at the waist to keep out uncomfortable drafts. The original jackets didn't have pockets, as these were not needed, but more modern versions have them. Irvin was producing his jackets at Letchworth in England, and he supplied the Royal Air Force during the Battle of Britain and throughout most of World War II. The jacket was so popular that he had to enlist the services of subcontractors in order to meet demand. The subcontractors are often held responsible for little variations in the pattern of the jacket made during the war. For example, an additional small angle panel above each hip. But with the war on, almost everything was scarce, including supplies of high-quality sheepskin, so large panels would be made by patching together smaller offcuts. The variation in the original jackets was, as often as not, resourceful thinking by the seamstresses, determined to keep their boys warm and safe as they defended the skies. World War II also meant that flying clothing was altered for more devious means. Lutty Hutton worked for MI9, a branch of military intelligence that, apart from other things, invented escape and evasion equipment for downed airmen. He was renowned for reinventing the silk escape and evasion map that was issued to all flyers. He also discovered the qualities of mulberry leaf paper, in that maps printed on tissue from these leaves had excellent durability and could be balled up, put in water to soak, and then flattened out without creasing or fading. These maps could be laminated inside playing cards and such, which, when soaked, could be peeled open. Hutton also devised uniforms that could be reversed so that the dark lining looked like a civilian jacket. Flying boots were an obvious giveaway for airmen trying to blend in and avoid capture, so Hutton invented the 1943 escape boot. These consisted of a black leather laced shoe with zip-up suede leggings. The principle was simple. In the event of landing in enemy territory, the wearer would separate the leggings from the shoe by using the folded pocket knife that was held in a special pocket in the right boot. The walking shoe was less conspicuous and more comfortable than a conventional flying boot, and the leggings could then be reassembled to make a waistcoat for extra warmth. That design remained in service with the RAF until the mid-1950s. Hutton also provided the boots with hollow heels to hide maps and other escape equipment. As clever and practical as British flying clothing was, it didn't really compare with the style and panache of some American flying jackets. I've already mentioned the iconic Irvin jacket adopted by the RAF, but the American issue jackets started with the 1927 A1, made by a number of contractors. It had a knitted waistband and cuffs, which not only insulated the jacket from cold air, but gave it a particularly flattering fit, high on the waist. The A1 also had flat pockets near the waist, but the size and stitching of these vary greatly, depending on the contractor or whether they were used by the Air Corps or Navy. And goatskin, sheepskin, and horsehide were all used at different times. Charles Lindbergh had a well-worn A1 style jacket which he wore before completing the first solo transatlantic flight in 1927. The A2 flight jacket arrived in the early 1930s and became standard issue for the Air Corps. First made from a seal brown horsehide leather with a silk lining, the quality of the jackets fell later to a goatskin leather with cotton lining. They were so cool, in fact, that when Steve McQueen played Virgil Hiltz in the movie The Great Escape, he, of course, wore an A2. The G1 picked up where the A2 left off. It was adopted by the Army and Navy as early as the 30s, but didn't replace the A2 amongst the Air Corps pilots until 1943. This new jacket featured a Moulton collar and a bi-swing back for greater arm movement, although the zipper lacks the A2's wind flap detail. And yes, it's the jacket you'll see Maverick wear in the movie Top Gun. Whilst some mistakenly refer to these as bomber jackets, the B-3 was a bulky sheepskin jacket with a heavy-duty sheep fur lining designed specifically for the high-altitude needs of the bombers. The slimmed-down B-6 arrived on the scene around 1943 and reflected the improving conditions for pilots in their cozy cockpits. The B-10 was a cloth jacket that came with an alpaca fur collar and lining. It very closely resembled the original G1 jacket with the same style pockets and zip closures. The jacket was released in various olive drab and navy blue and became incredibly popular even outside the Air Corps. The B-10's brief reign ended in 1944 with the flight jacket that would endure for the rest of the 1940s and become what most people today view as a proper bomber jacket. The B-15 had a Moulton fur collar and the wool knit waist and cuffs of many of the previous models, but was produced in a variety of different shell materials, including nylon. Also new was a pen pocket high up on the left upper arm of the jacket, a detail that would remain and grow for decades to come. The jacket went mainstream just as the so-called jet age began, with Chuck Yeager breaking the sound barrier in 1947 and the United States Air Force becoming its own independent military branch in the same year. It's as fashionable now as it looked on Yeager as he posed beside glamorous Glennis.
Good stuff. Very fashionable. So the G series jackets, the G1, G, have anything to do with the G string?
No, G Whiz.
Oh, G Whiz. Okay.
G Whiz. Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, you guys are G Whiz guys, aren't you? So. I have to say, we always envied the cut of the United States Air Force flying suits and jackets, particularly when I first joined the Air Force, as ours resembled a giant baby grow outfit, which you may not have had in the States, but was kind of a onesie.
Yeah.
Yeah, floppy,
like
green.
hoodies and a butt flap.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Horrible. And it wasn't really until I was coming, halfway through my career that our flight suits started to look vaguely neat and well tailored. So that was always interesting. And our cold weather gear used to resemble something like out of World War II. We had a pair of huge trousers that came up to our nipples, like we were like old gentlemen, with braces, and then a little short jacket that went over the top, all made out of sort of fireproof canvas stuff. It was actually quite practical, but looked awful.
I have you'll have to send a picture at some point, because I have a picture in my head and it's not a good look.
No, it's definitely not. But I did do the winter survival course in Bad Kolgrub in Austria, wearing the RAF cold weather gear, and it actually worked pretty well. It wasn't bad. It just looked awful.
The functionality of it, it doesn't matter what it looks like at the end.
That's true. Yeah, I was amazed at replica jackets from the sort of World War II era, some of these famous jackets. Just to knock up a replica, $1,200, $1,500 to get hold of an original. Whoa, you're going to spend a lot of money. It's amazing the value of these old flying clothing.
So Armando wants you to do another plain tale about fashion, but just focusing on flying scarves.
Yeah, like that's going to be real easy. But I will have a think about it, Armando, for 10 seconds. I do need though
much?
to. I used to. I mean, I've got a number of flying scarves, and quite honestly, they had a very practical use, because when you're trying to turn your head backwards and forwards all the time, it did stop your neck from chafing, which was a problem. So I used to have a silk scarf just for that, and also for posing, of course, in the bar. But I need to mention someone, and that's Bob Nelson, because he did write to me and suggested a few people to investigate, one of whom was Sidney Cotton, and that's kind of led to this whole plain tale. So thanks very much indeed for that, Bob. Appreciate your pointer there, and I'm always open to suggestions, except from
Armando.
Well, actually, I was going to include a little bit about flying goggles, because when I was a youngster flying gliders, I got issued a set of RAF flying goggles, and they were literally World War II flying goggles. And how I wish I'd hung on to them, because we used to fly open cockpit gliders in the winter, and you really did need some warm gear. Geez, I should have got to those. I mean, they came in a beautiful box, and they even had special cloths which you wiped on the inside to stop them misting up. And they had swappable lenses, so you could have tinted or clear. They really were beautifully made, and I guess, I don't know, I probably gave them back to this guy in stores, but
I suppose it's like the rest of those outfits, they're just not made the same way anymore.
Getting something from the control room.
Oh, right.
Liz asks, are they anything like beer goggles?
In those days, I didn't need beer goggles. I do nowadays, though.
Yes. Excellent. I really enjoyed that, and the pictures really helped. For those of you listening to the audio only, all of those will be in on the Plaintail page, where you can see all the photos that Nick shared with us during the video, or you could just go over to YouTube and watch it on YouTube too. That's another way to do it.
That's true. True.
Anyway, very good. Really enjoyable. Well, let's continue our feedback with a cartoon that was sent in by Larry Geezer, Larry Gregory from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I know it's just a cartoon, so you can't really, you have to imagine this. It's the inside of an airline cabin. Flight attendant is walking up to this lady who is sitting next to a gentleman that appears to have expired. And she's
very uncomfortable in that moment.
Yeah, very. The eyeballs kind of popping out, which is kind of
perhaps
odd.
Deceased. Yeah.
Yeah. So the flight attendant says to the lady, when we asked you to turn off all electronic devices, we didn't mean your husband's pacemaker.
Oops. You know what it reminds me of? You know, the little girl in Airplane who has the heart trouble and her IV gets knocked out. The face that she makes, that's the face.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That is that same face.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. In the show notes, folks, ITSN. Sean.
I'm curious, just a second. Can you actually turn off a pacemaker?
I
So
don't.
put a magnet over it to inactivate it. Sure.
Oh, okay.
Or put yourself inside of a microwave. No, that'd be hard to do.
Or get an MRI. That's not a good idea. Yeah.
Wasn't it like one of those warnings, like if you have a pacemaker, like not to go through some of the...
Yeah, you have to stay away from strong magnetic fields because
Okay.
it can interfere with the function of it.
Ah. Okay. 17, Sean says, a few weeks back, Liz was worried about lack of feedback. So here's one that can be used at any time. So we've been holding this in our holster here. Question. It's well known that pilots are cheap. But why are they so cheap? One could argue that A, flight training is expensive, but pilots trained in the military seem to be just as cheap, if not cheaper, actually. And item B, it's from the shell shock of flying for shady, low-paying operators, but senior pilots at the majors can be just as cheap. Any other thoughts? And again, this is from Sean. So
Sean's an American, yeah?
I believe so.
Yeah, well, that explains it.
Okay. So so the airline pilots in other parts of the world are not cheap at all?
I couldn't possibly comment.
Well, I noticed that characteristic, personality trait, whatever you want to call it, pretty rapidly when I started in the airlines here in the US, that there were, not all, but there were some pilots that I flew with who were very, let's say, practical / frugal. Maybe that's a nicer way of saying cheap. In fact, one of the guys, and I think I've shared this story at least once or twice, was so cheap. And this guy was a captain on the 727, and this was before, 9/11, 2001. This is back in the days when, the 1996 contract, I guess, it was a good contract. Guys flying captain on any of our airliners were making very, very good money. But that didn't stop this particular captain from being, like, if you looked up cheap in the dictionary or Wikipedia, you'd see a picture of him. Captain, I'm not even going to mention his name just in case he ever listens to the show, but you know who you are.
We had one who famously used to go to hotels with a bunch of really cheap light bulbs in his suitcase, and before he left his room, he would unscrew all the nice low voltage, expensive LED powered or whatever light bulbs and replace them with these really cheap ones and take those home with him to sell.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's well, so this guy, one of the first times I ever went to a restaurant actually we had a long layover in Los Angeles and I had family out there at the time. They picked me up, so I didn't, thank goodness I didn't have to go on the layover with my flight engineer and this captain. And the next day he was telling me that they went to a restaurant and they sat down, they were seated, they sat down. looked at the menu, and then the captain goes, "Yeah, we're not going to eat here." And the guys go, oh, "Why not?" Because it's too much money. And then they were the next day on a long bike ride along the. I guess there's some kind of a bike trail along the. You've probably done it, Nick, like in Santa Monica, and that kind of area.
Along the beach,
along the beach
and things. Yeah, lovely.
And apparently it goes for miles and miles. And this guy was a big bike rider. And one of the things he did, which is a wonderful thing for charity, he would get bikes that were all messed up and really needed work, and he would work on them and fix them up, and then he would donate them to companies to give away to underprivileged kids. So that was one of the wonderful things that this man did. But they were on this long ride, and the guy was about to die of thirst, and so they stopped by and to get some water. The guys were selling cold water in bottles, and he wouldn't stop to buy water in the bottles because they were charging too much money for the water. He said we can find water somewhere for free. But anyway, the one that really took the cake for me was that when we would lay over in Fort Wayne, Indiana, FWA, there right at the airport, there is a cookie manufacturer, I think called Arrow Cookies or something like that. And he'd always take a plastic trash bag, like one of the big ones, like the 55-gallon trash bags. And the next day he'd come back with this thing just filled up with broken up cookie pieces. And we said, well, what is this? And he said, oh, you go over there and they'll sell their rejects for like 50 cents a pound or something like that. And so he said, I always come up here and just fill up a big giant bag of these broken cookies.
Reject cookies.
Yeah. And he said, it's great for parties, and you can put them in like a punch bowl. And we're going like, yeah, we are always asking, I wonder where all the money goes, because he makes a lot of money. And he apparently doesn't spend a lot of it, at least when he's on these trips.
Was he previously divorced?
I don't think so. I think he was still in his first wife. I don't know. Just who knows? But this is something that is true. Trust me. That the copper wire was invented by two airline pilots fighting over a penny, and they were pulling it so hard, it turned into wire. Bam. Yeah. And since Dana's not here to make his comments. Wow. Thank you.
Hey, can I add something real quick that actually has to do with going back to the cartoon? Because I said something and I want to make sure that I'm not completely misunderstood or misspoke.
Okay.
And probably, I only thought of this because, our cardiologists from the Acme Aviation Administration wrote in earlier.
Yeah.
So just to be real clear, the magnet doesn't actually turn the pacemaker off. It just puts it in asynchronous mode, and it can also inhibit, if it's a defibrillator, inhibit the defibrillation part of it, but not the pacing. So
I was wondering that myself, but I didn't want to correct you and embarrass you on the show.
I could just feel my spidey senses tingling that some cardiologist was going to write in and be like, no. I'm like, okay,
that's not
way
right.
Oversimplified there, but
well, to be fair, you're not a cardiologist.
I am not a cardiologist, but just wanted to raise that bar back to somewhere around 50%. I'm probably not 100% accurate there either, but closer.
I think we're above. Thank you, Steph. Yes. And just to be on the record, to be clear to everybody out there, that Captain Nick and myself are also not cardiologists.
No, I'm a gynecologist.
Well, an amateur gynecologist, maybe. Okay. Well, is it time again? Wow,
we've been such a thing, because I actually want to be one of those.
Wait.
Okay. Moving on.
Oh my! Keep that family show thing ready.
I guess. Yeah. Let me just make sure that you did. I did play it, but I think you guys were still talking.
Family show, ladies and gentlemen. Family show.
Matt is trying very, very diligently to keep us on track. So getting back to Sean, honestly, I think that's just one of the, and it's not, as Nick is trying to make the point, it's not necessarily universal in the world of airline pilots that all pilots are very frugal, cheap people. There are a lot of them, a very high percentage of them, but not all of us are like that. I think at some point we come to the point where we understand that you can't take it with you, so you might as well spend it and enjoy your life, and and spend the money on yourself and your crew while you're out there, and enjoying traveling around the world.
Definitely. To be fair, though, we used to get exactly the same allowances. Didn't matter what rank you were or what position on the flight you held. We all got given the same bucket of money when we went down route. So, we all used to go out and spend it and enjoy it. It was much better when we got given cash in hand. Arrive at the hotel and you were given a little brown envelope with all your dollars in or whatever. In later years, they put it on a credit card, and that's when people used to start going, I won't go out so much because I'm going to turn that into pounds and take it home with me.
Well, you take it a step further for us. Ever since I've been flying for Acme Airlines, our per diem is always included in our paycheck.
Yeah.
So it just becomes pay.
Killer. Yeah.
So, that's probably a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if we had it like in an envelope with cash, or even like a extra credit card, I think that it's more likely we'd probably spend that money instead of, but when it's already going into your bank account, it's like pay. And so some people just like to preserve as much of their pay as possible, I guess. Okay. Yep.
Oh, no, I was just thinking that that's not only true for pilots.
No. We don't.
That extends across many different professions and specialties, even ones that are highly paid.
We don't have a monopoly on it.
No.
I think Clark Howard, he's a guy that does a radio program on financial, practical, money related stuff, and he says, there's a reason that the people out there who are millionaires are driving old beat up cars, like 15-year-old cars or more. And that's, because they save every darn penny. And that's the reason why they're millionaires. Of course, we always think of millionaires as the people riding in limousines and living in, multi-million-dollar homes and everything else. But I think there's a far greater percentage of quote millionaires out there that are living in very small homes and driving beat up cars.
Yeah, they're fairly frugal, but behind the scenes they're amassing their own personal wealth.
Yes, thank you, Liz. That kind of hurts. It really does hurt. She wrote behind the scene. She's reminding me of the van that I used to drive, the Loser Cruiser, I called it. 20 years old with I don't know how many thousands of miles, hundreds of thousands of miles on it.
Yeah, but it was a car and it drove. And
yeah,
it allowed you to grow your.
I didn't take it out on
pilot.
dates or anything, I do have a nicer car. Anyway.
You only use your nice car on dates. Oh no.
And I don't do a lot of dating anymore. So that tells you something there too. Okay. Mark writes in, this is funny. Hi, Liz and APG hosts. The wrap up of the last show, 427, with Hillel in the shower made me think of this recent news story that a mother gave some 7-year-olds a biology lesson. Although not aviation related, it's pretty funny and hits the 50% accuracy mark.
Oh, can we see the video?
Well, I don't think that they included the video, unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately, depending on your perspective. Yeah. This is from the dailymail.co.uk, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes. And this lady from Jacksonville, Florida, her name Ashley Forret Smith, shared the embarrassing moment in a viral Facebook video. By the way, the Facebook video doesn't actually have her coming out of the shower naked. I checked just to make sure, because I want to ensure that the quality is there for people.
Also accuracy.
Yeah, accuracy, right. That's
quality check.
Yeah. She had set her 3 daughters up with computers in other rooms of the house on May 5th and took a shower in the master bathroom. While she was in the shower, her 7-year-old moved her computer into the master bedroom and started a Zoom session with classmates. Ashley walked out of the bathroom naked and was caught on camera. This was sent in by Mark Van Ram, part of the Van Ram brothers.
What was Mark Van Ram doing in that computer class?
I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah. I'm not going to say anything else. Yeah, so there's the article here about, and there's some pictures of mom and with a towel around her wet hair, and then interestingly, some of the solutions that her daughters came up with for keeping it private, which are kind of interesting. One of the daughters is out there in the backyard on a blanket, keeping it. My favorite though is the one right below that where one of the little girls has strapped to her shoulders a big board, or
like a poster board
behind her to block anything that might be happening.
Like backpack privacy screen.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very, very cool.
Very inventive. I think she's going to do well in life.
Yes. So anyway, she made she had some fun with this whole thing, and she apologized, and I'm sure she just horrified her daughters and her daughters' friends. Anyway, so be careful out there, and you've talked about this, Steph. You've been involved in many Zoom meetings, and I guess the most common thing is not necessarily things that are happening.
It's not
visually. It's the
it's
sound.
not video. It's audio. There's a lot of there was the one the other week that I was on, and there was a general announcement at the beginning, but not everyone joined on time. So the latecomers weren't very good about making sure their audio was on mute. And you just hear like kids yelling in the background, dogs barking, people coughing. I'm glad we didn't hear any toilets flushing or anything, a la the Supreme Court. So just a
the
public service
Supreme Court.
To be fair, it was a lawyer that was but it was part of the Supreme Court
hearing.
And one
of the toilet flushing in the background.
Yeah, it was not good. Not a good sound.
So just a public service announcement from your friends at the Airline Pilot Guy.
And it wasn't just one of those sound effects like that I have on my soundboard. It was like the real thing. Yeah.
Just mute as your friend. Find the mute button. Know how it works.
When you join a Zoom meeting, doesn't it all automatically have you
depends on your settings.
Oh.
It depends on your settings.
Well, there you go. All right. I'm going to, we're just going to do a couple more here and then maybe just call it quits a little bit early today. I'm going to skip the one from Andy. I'm going to save that. Logan had some feedback for us. Just a quick feedback here in regards to the other unique 747s out there. I think we talked about that on the last episode. I didn't hear you mention the NASA shuttle carrier aircraft 747. Oh yeah, I don't think we did mention
it. Was mentioned in the chat room. Someone brought it up, and I meant to say it, and then we moved on, and I forgot. I'm sorry. But actually, I should have mentioned that one even without prompting, because I actually saw it fly over my house with the space shuttle on it one time when I lived in Utah. Yeah, it was on its way to Hill Air Force Base. It was just part of a tour, but very cool.
They operated 2 modified Boeing 747-100s to transport the space shuttle from their landing sites back to Kennedy. Here's a page from NASA for reference, as well as a video from the flight that brought the space shuttle Endeavour to Los Angeles. This is from Logan Lynch. Hope you're doing well, sir. And thank you for the link to nasa.gov and the special 747 shuttle carrier aircraft.
And I want to say it was Discovery on being carried when I saw it.
Oh. Very cool. Was that one of the ones that...
Well, go on then.
Well, yeah, go ahead and say it.
You can say it.
Because you want to say
it. We'll let you. You
Go
can
ahead.
say Discovery if you want.
She's not following us.
confused.
I get it. We're just a bunch of boomers.
Okay, boomer.
We understand
Okay,
each
boomer.
other's sense of humor.
I want to say Discovery, but
Okay.
And then we're
yes.
saying, go ahead.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Yeah. No, they were doing, I forget why they were doing it. It was like a tour of different Air Force bases, and you could go out, the public could go out and see it on display, but they basically flew directly overhead my house on the way up there. So
Neat.
we actually sat up on the
very
roof
nice of them.
and watched it.
Yeah, let's swing over.
It was
here.
kind of
Steph
before the
lived
days
over
of like, having a camera on your cell phone or anything. So no one took any pictures. We just sat there and went, oh.
there. Yeah. There would be plenty of pictures if it happened today, right?
Oh my gosh, so many.
Here's an interesting one. Sean H. sent in this from a small town in Ontario, Canada. This is my first feedback since meeting Jeff and Liz back in October in Toronto. It was an honor to meet you both. Thank you, Sean. It was a great honor to meet you as well. First, it's great to see Rick back in the APG seat. I had a couple of questions for him on CG. Oh, well, darn it. He's not here to answer them.
That's all right. I can give it a go. It looks like it's a fairly simple one.
Okay, so when we talk about CG in an aircraft, it's usually forward to aft and side to side. Actually, it's just forward to aft. I don't even think it's side to side, is it?
No, it's not side to side.
But what about vertically? I'm wondering if there is a specific way that they would load a 747 freighter or a 777 freighter. For example, the cargo is all the same size in small boxes and containers and pallets. Would they fill the lower cargo hold first and then the top deck, or?
No, I can't answer that, but I'm going to say it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we're talking 30 feet. So, you know, the difference between top and bottom, 30 foot is a very small moment arm. So you're not really going to have any significant balance effects. And a load sheet that we use when we load an aircraft doesn't have any indications for side to side or up and down loading loading limitations. So it's only fore and aft.
He said, like, does this affect the roll characteristics, especially on the Dreamlifter, when you would be transporting a whole plane fuselage above the wings?
Rick's going to have to answer that, but I would guess that the Dreamlifter doesn't carry a lot of weight. It's a lot of volume, but it hasn't a huge weight.
Right.
So I'm going to say that the airframe shape probably has a much greater effect on the handling characteristics than what you've stuck inside.
I believe you are correct, sir. But we'll make sure we'll pass this by Rick as well, just to kind of get his.
He can edit my comments as required.
Yeah. He said he thought of this as he watched the Antonov AN-225 come into Toronto this past weekend. It and the C-5 Galaxy are both high wing design, but that might be for loading capability. Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of the reason why you see these big cargo jets with the high wing setup is for cargo loading.
Yeah, it's to give it a nice clear fuselage all the way down, so you can just roll stuff in the front and troll it straight down the fuselage, I suspect.
Yep.
If you had a big spar in the way, it would get annoying.
That would be very annoying. This is the most interesting part of his feedback, I think, though. Second, I thought you guys might find this interesting. I came across this website while I was doing some research showing how to reduce your chances of dying in a plane crash. I found the odds section fascinating. What stood out to me was bloggers have a 35 million to 1 chance of dying. Who knew you could die from blogging?
Oh, it's all the pictures they need to take hanging off the sides of cliffs, I think. That's what kills
the
most
stress
bloggers.
of getting a post out on time.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, heart attacks. Yeah.
I'll put a link to this in the show notes, and you can look at this this visualization. And remember, this link that he gave us is from 2009. But it shows like reducing your odds of dying in a plane crash. The density of fatal accidents going to your final destination. And then I guess if you're flying to the United States, that's not a good place to be flying because it has the biggest circle on this geographic map of chances of dying. If you're going to the US, apparently is pretty high. And then it goes into the types of aircraft. And the 737, don't tell Dana, is up there pretty high on the list, actually at the top of the list, the number of fatal accidents by aircraft type. And again, this is in 2009. The top one is the 737. The next one down is the DC-9 family.
Oops.
The airplane that I'm of course, look at that profile view there. That is not a DC-9. That is either a BAC 111 or a Fokker.
Well, did a journalist put this together?
I'm sure a journalist did.
There you have it.
I'm impressed that they got the 737 and the 747 correct, though. The Boeing 747 is the third one on the list. And then it drops down to the Airbus A300. And then these are getting, lower and lower fatal accident rates. Airbus A320, 757, 767, Bombardier CRJ200, and the Airbus A330. There's only, at this time, only one. which crashed in June of 2009, the Air France.
I'm looking. The A340 is so good; it doesn't appear
Oh,
there.
it doesn't even show up.
No.
But the 777 at that time had 0 fatal accidents. I would imagine that the San Francisco one would probably count as as one.
Well, didn't they shoot one down? And of course, the Malayan
We've had
one. That's just
like 3.
Yeah.
After they put this whole chart together. Bad month. The months with the most fatal airline accidents. I guess if you're planning on flying in August, I would think about maybe changing your plans. August seems to be a bad month to fly as far as fatal accidents. You'll also remember, though, compared with 2009, the fatal accident rate has almost diminished to.
Well, and this is taking into account fatal accidents from 1942 to 2009.
Yeah,
So,
kind of a long span of
you
time.
know, things change over decades.
The thing that I was happiest about was that on the safety record of the various airlines, Acme is nowhere to be found on this, nor its sister airline. So,
No, Virgin isn't up there either.
no, it is not. So that's good. It's kind of fun to look at these things. The last line, the odds of actually dying in a plane crash is kind of in the middle here, 11 million to 1. I guess the most common way of dying is falling down. It's 20,666 to 1. And I guess that's probably older people. They tend to.
Yeah, you fall, and then, you know, there's associated things that happen from that. You hit your head and you have a bleed, or you break something, and then,
You've heard of falling down dead, haven't you? So that
Yeah.
must be it. You know, you could fall down dead of a heart attack or a stroke or all sorts of things, and they're
Or
all
heat
involved falling down. So,
well, that's true. I don't know if it's included in that category or not. Heat stroke, 950,000 to 1. Lightning, 2.3 million.
yeah, that lightning, very dangerous airplane.
Well, not that lightning.
this is more like don't stand out on a golf course with your,
with your clubs up in the air.
clubs up in the air. Yeah, during a lightning storm. Yeah.
10 million to 1 chance of dying in a nuclear accident.
I live in very close proximity to a nuclear power
For
plant.
you, it's more
so
like
that's
10
not good.
million to 2, maybe.
Yeah, it's a little higher.
Yeah. Plane
Bee
crash,
sting.
11 million to 1. But yeah, bee sting, 15 million.
Some
to
people
1.
are very allergic to bee stings.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Mountain lion
fire.
attack. Got to be careful about those mountain lions attacking you. 32 million to 1. And then, of course, the aforementioned stat, blogging, 35 million to 1 chance of. So you have more of a chance of dying from a lightning strike than you do from blogging. So I think blogging is pretty safe.
Or a plane crash.
Or a plane
to be
crash.
fair.
Sure. Yeah. Good point. All right. I think, let's see, what does Becky say? I don't think I've even read this one. Becky writes in, I found the discussion of this event super interesting. The Szechuan 8319, the one with the explosive decompression because of the windshield breaking. I can't imagine the noise and chaos in a cold and damp cockpit. I also see Nick's point that if the pilot lost consciousness, the bravery and skills wouldn't be helpful. I'm curious, how disorienting can they make a simulation? Obviously, they can't simulate a windscreen failure and watching your co-pilot get almost sucked out of the plane. Do they ever try to simulate explosive decompression, condensation, or doors hitting electrical panels? Not serious in that one. What are the most challenging simulations thrown at each of you? Yeah, very difficult to kind of come up with any of these kind of scenarios in simulation, wouldn't you say, Nick?
Well, yeah, apart from anything else, they try to avoid these very, very low probability emergencies, which involve multiple emergencies, because they do nothing usually but erode the confidence of the pilots. Now, most emergencies, you might get a serious combination of 1 or 2 events, but when you get multiple events thrown in that happen once in a blue moon, there's not a lot of point in training every pilot or putting every pilot through that, because the chances of it happening are so remote compared with all the other myriad of perhaps slightly simpler emergencies. Much better to train for those and have those all dealt with properly. And then when you get a really, really serious situation like this guy had, then you just trust that despite the fact that he had windscreen failure, depressurization, incapacitation, and electrical problems, plus everything else that occurred, you know, when you do get someone who manages to deal with that and save the aircraft, then that's just, you know, a brilliant piece of work, and we all take our hat off to him. But you trained everyone in the simulator to cope with that emergency, and the chances are that only one in a generation will ever see it for real. So there's little point. You just hope that on the day you've got a smart guy that can cope.
Very true. All right. Well, with that, I think we're going to call it quits for episode 430. Thank you, Becky, for sending in the question. And thank you for listening. And all of you out there, thank you for listening to the show, downloading it, watching it on YouTube, giving us good ratings in iTunes or whatever software you're using. That always helps to highlight our show and, maybe recommend it to others as well. So, and as we mentioned before, the community, the APG community is really amazing. And we want more and more great people like you all to join it so that we can all have a great time. One of these days when we don't have to do the social distancing thing anymore, we'll have a huge meetup somewhere and have a great party. So with that, if you're new to the show, you want to learn more about the crew, the community, the merchandise, the coffee fund, more detailed information about each of the plane tales that Nick does every week. Special page for that. If you're a reader, we have the APG library managed by our librarian, Tiffany, and so much more. So head over to the Airline Pilot Guy website. And, if you want to make it sort of like an app, you can appify that. And that's in the show notes, by the way. It's a link that shows you how to make a page kind of look and work sort of like an app on your phone or tablet device. So check that out. And we're also on the social medias.
We are. Good for this time of social distancing. You can still be social with us on the social medias. Head over to twitter.com. We are at APG Crew, and all of our individual Twitter information is pinned to the top of that page. Good place to find out about when we'll be recording the show live or any last minute changes to said recording dates and times. You can also head over to facebook.com/Airline Pilot Guy, and Instagram is at APG Crew. If you want to get into the weeds of things, I'll refer you over to Slack and Hillel.
Yes, into the weeds we go. And so let's see if we can pull up the hidden microphone in the back.
Is she smoking weed?
Time for Hillel. For Slack. Hillel.
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
Sorry. Okay, give him a little chance to walk over here. He's dripping wet. And now tell us about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and Plain Tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks, Hillel. Now you can head back to your social distancing place.
No, wait, Jeff. I'm social distancing.
See?
Good man.
Yes.
I guess you're just not allowed in your own bathroom anymore.
Apparently not, but luckily there are 4.5 other bathrooms in this house.
You're good. Safe.
Yes, I'm safe. All right. And with that, wishing you all... Oh, before we go, we always have to point out the great work done by our producer director in our control room in Toronto, Liz Pfeiffer. Yay. Way to go, Liz. And until next time, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye, buddy.
It's caught in my zipper, Jeff.
Sounds painful.
Sounds painful. Yes. Yeah. Love it, Hillel. You're an amazing guy. You are. Let's see. Let me turn off my recorder.
I just want to know what he's got caught in his zipper.
Don't ask.
I mean, I know his religion, so how does that work?
There's all kinds of things you can get caught in your zipper, sir.
I guess, yeah.
All right. Well, there we go. The recorder is off. You have yours off, sir?
Do now.
Okay.
Thanks for the reminder.
Thank
Never
you.
started one.
Huh.
Shocking.
Very shocking.
Dreadful.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I just realized that we have a couple folks in the chat room that know a lot about loading airplanes, including John Jester. That's the airplane he flies. Sorry, John. Should have gone with you and paid attention to what you guys were saying there about the question regarding the loading.
The chat room got lots of insider knowledge.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, did he say anything that contradicted us?
No, we just didn't say anything about it. We just
right.
read the question and left it alone.
When I'm loading trailers at work, that's trailers. Okay. I thought John had something in here.
He did. He said, we were talking about the Dreamlifter. He said main deck pallets are generally much taller. Doesn't fly any different. Only difference is in crosswinds.
Yeah, and Rick has mentioned that. It's very noticeable in crosswinds. I guess just the form factor of that thing. Big giant. What do they call it? Barn doors. Well,
have you seen
like
the picture going around of the back end of the Dreamlifter with a big mouth painted on it?
Oh,
so
yeah.
The Photoshop one.
Yeah, that would be. See, that was what
I think they should
the
do that,
beluga
actually.
look a lot better because they've made it look like a dolphin. Whereas that thing just looks like it looks like a really crappy light bulb or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
If they painted that face on it, that would make it look much better.
I liked it. Unfortunately, it's just Photoshop, but that would be kind of cool if they actually painted the airplane.
Yeah, I think it was super. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Have a little bit of fun with it.
Right. Have fun with it. That's what I say.
Oh, anyone got any good ideas for a show title?
Oh, a show title.
Yes. Come on, chat room.
Always a good question to ask our great chat room folks. But you're assuming that they're actually paying attention to what we're saying.
No,
they just chat amongst themselves. They don't listen
for
to
the past
us
3
at all.
hours.
Yeah. They're not recording anymore. Huh. Anything? Anybody?
I'm just going back through the feedback.
Well, here's one from Carl Stebbings. That might be a good title.
He only just joined.
Ew.
He knows nothing. Don't listen to him.
Yeah, he showed up. He said, "What'd I miss?" I said, "The show, Carlos. You missed the show."
Well, only showers once a week. Yeah, and he always picks the time that we're doing the show to do it.
It's uncanny.
Yeah, well.
It's really. What about the bird on the prop? Can you do something with
bird on a prop?
No, I mean that doesn't have much of a ring to it. I'm just thinking of things that were kind of humorous.
I don't know.
Well, we'll think about it.
Yeah.
Chat room, you've been no help.
Yes, thank you very much. You're worthless. Okay. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and end this broadcast, and hopefully we'll see you all next week whenever we do this again. And until then, have a great week, great weekend.
Do we have to do it again next week?
Well, you don't have to.
You don't.
You can take your personal day if you want.
I think you've accrued some time off.
Yeah, you have. Okay.
I've got to need a new subject for a plane tale. Somebody help.
Help.
And I don't want
help.
Whenever I do a subject, people always come up with other variations of the same theme. I want something completely different.
Completely different.
Yeah.
Suggestions for a show title for Three's Company and the Three Amigos.
Okay.
Just because there's 3 of us here.
I see the theme.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Alrighty.
Yep.
We're going to sign off. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye. Go to bed, Nick.
Anyway,
Go to bed.
we're getting that way.